Hey.
Hey,
Yo.
hey! Oh, I'm the host. I gotta say the words.
Sup?
So,
Sup, brah?
bruh, word,
Bruh.
word.
Bruh.
Welcome.
Word. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guys, that was on you. You know what? I'll speak for the community. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for welcoming
You're welcome.
us.
Y'all are welcome. Welcome everybody to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is our Don't Worry Wednesday show. This happens on Wednesday. So it's not just a catchy name, except for you, it's Thursday.
But it's Thursday for me, so.
Right. And so it fits, like we didn't even know you were going to be on a different day when we put even if it's Thursday in the little tagline thing.
That's true.
We
just knew that there's a lot of people who were complaining at us.
I don't know if it was complaining.
Okay, they weren't even complaining. They were just correcting us.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, you're right. You look great today, super neon blue. I don't know do I pronounce that right? Like how what's the correct pronunciation of that? Is it neon blue or is it neon blue?
The second one, neon.
Neon blue?
I have no idea. Okay. I think that's her saying you can say whatever you like.
I can say whatever I want. I don't know. I think
she calls it. She says neon herself. So.
I think I was at a live stream, or I saw a video of Nyansai at one point in time playing Minecraft years ago, and the welcome said, "Hi, this is Nyansai," and so like I kind of took it from there. Nyansai.
Yeah. Nyan. You know what? You can do whatever you want, man.
I can do whatever I want.
You're the producer.
I can. That's right. What? Who? What? I mean, seriously.
I'm over here trying to fix my colors again.
Again?
Oh, weird and wacky. Yeah.
You're kind of in the dark. Do I need to darken myself? Maybe I need to.
It's just that you look so like perfect, and I can't even achieve that quality.
I do not look perfect. Whoa, whoa! It's a party.
It's a party.
I can fix myself so I have a little bit more color.
There we go.
Or maybe a little bit less color.
I think I'm getting it.
No, I look like I can totally do that.
Okay, whatever. It is what it is. I look more tan than I ever have in my life. And I don't know how to fix that, but the sun touched me for about 4 seconds.
But you look really good. So. 4 seconds, and you got tan.
Yeah, I guess so.
Man, oh man, so cool. And it's summertime over there. It's supposed to be really cold here. You would miss out. You're gonna miss out, man. It's gonna be like single digits and stuff.
I'm so happy I'm not over there.
Nah.
You guys can go play in your snow if you want. I don't mind. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves.
We will.
I will stay my hand and choose not to suffer.
Okay.
And the pain of the cold.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your summer months.
Thank you. I will.
Endless summer that you have.
It's gonna be hot. It's gonna get hotter and hotter.
Hotter and hotter.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm gonna basically just be standing still and then like, well, I don't really sweat, but make stinky smells in my armpits. There you go.
You do that? You do that or you don't do that?
I do that.
You do that. Okay.
You
don't sweat, but you smell like you sweat.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, good. Well, now that we've got that figured out, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show that's all about you guys. What's that?
That's crucial information.
It is crucial. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People need to know that Static P is a human being.
That's right.
And the levels of success achieved by Static P are achievable by other human beings as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going with this. And what it had to do with me sweating.
It's very true. Yes, Zephyrus, he is human. After all, I
Yeah.
mean, like, you see him.
Mhm.
He's not just a robot.
Can a robot do that? I don't know. I never seen a robot do that. I thought I was the second son of God.
I
Whoa.
mean, pretty close.
Dang.
We were
I
just
mean,
talking.
let me count. Let me count. I think I'm like the something trillionth, quadrillionth or something son of God, but yeah, okay. I'll take it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I
Pretty
mean,
far down the line, I think.
he is a pretty holy guy.
Well, I try to be, but
You
I
do a
don't
good
match up to
job.
Joe.
You do good.
Joe
What?
does even better.
Dude,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
You're
man.
wrong.
You're like, I like sinning. Remember a couple streams ago? And you said that, oh yeah, Ryan likes sinning too.
You do?
Because that's what you said about me.
Oh, well, I think it's just that's a human thing. That's like your humanity coming out. But you're better at avoiding it. See, like
Yeah.
we were just
I
talking
don't know,
before the
man.
show. I went to confession today, and I really should go more often. I go like probably once a month. And Ryan probably
I'm
goes
gonna
like
be
once a year.
Yeah, but that doesn't make me a better person. It just means that I'm
Because you
just
don't see,
avoidant.
I'm really good at sinning.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm really good at it.
If
Don't take away what
if
I'm good
I'm
at.
if I'm any better, if I'm any better at avoiding sin than you, it's not because I've chosen that. It's only because of habits that I've established in the past, and it has nothing to do with my ability to choose. Because I choose wrong things all the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that your self-control is higher than mine. I'm gonna have to. I think so. That I
My
think that's
self-control is
absolutely
higher than yours?
true. Yeah, you have a higher level of self-control than I do.
No, that can't be true. That
We're
cannot be
having a
an
piety
accurate
We're
statement
having a
at
battle
all.
of piety, except for it's like, no, you're better than I am.
Yes, this is like the this is like the humility, talk
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll move on.
You commit 7 deadly sins each day of the week. What are the 7 deadly sins?
Ooh.
Pride, avarice.
Do you pick a day for each one?
Or do all 7?
If there's 7 deadly sins and there's 7 weeks,
you do all 7 every day.
You could. I just wondered if he's got one on his list for each day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There are a few of those deadly sins that I'm pretty darn good at. Gluttony.
Every day. Oh man.
I'm good at gluttony, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, cheese whiz. No.
Yes. Yep. I'm good at all of them. Got each day.
Each a color in the rainbow. Nice.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad to know that we're all in such good company. You guys are great.
That's right.
We're all here, and we're all in this soup together of life.
That's certainly true.
And it's fun, and sometimes it's challenging, and that's why we have this show, because we want to, this is about you guys, your topics, the stuff that you guys are going through. We want to be here and talk about it. We want to help. We want to bring it to light and, offer some perspective and some love and encouragement, because this kind of stuff hits everybody. People go through stuff. Life can be hard.
And it's not always your fault. Actually, a lot of times it seems like it's not your fault. It just gets thrown onto you, and you got to suffer with it because it's just people around you or whatever environmental things happen.
Yeah.
And so,
like my choices to sin are just thrust upon me.
Yeah, well, I guess that's sort of true to some degree. I'll give you that.
It's not my fault.
It might be your fault still. I don't know, man. I think that there's some truth to that.
Hey, whatever. I'm a person. I'm not going to deny it.
Yeah,
it's okay. But that's a big step, though, because a year ago, I would not even admit that I was human. Like I was subhuman, right? Now at least I'm human.
You're moving up.
And that was about when my therapist was like, "Hey, you're good now."
Yeah.
And
then you are. Yeah. Wow. Geez, they should have started with that. Therapist should have just. Wow, I can't speak. The therapist should have just been like, "Yeah, you're good now, man." And you're like, "Oh, great, I can move on." That would have been nice.
Well, it was
I
really
definitely need
cool.
to work through stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we went through a lot. We had to go through all kinds, and I'm still going through stuff and having breakthroughs. It's kind of fun. I don't know. We might get a topic
Yeah.
at some point that, you know, where I get to unpack some of that, because I think some of that's really important for people.
Mm.
Just about how our mind works and in the realm of anxiety and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah. But anyway, I got to do the legal disclaimer. We're not professional therapists. We're not counselors. We're not anything like that. We're not a substitute for that. And in a lot of cases, we might probably refer you to a
Mm.
counselor or a therapist, because honestly, it's probably a good idea.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, I would say, it's good to find a good therapist, and you don't have to stick with the first one you find, because, like, when you talk to them, if you're getting kind of a weird vibe or whatever, or something, seems off,
Hmm.
you go get another one. I happen to be really lucky
Absolutely.
that the first one that I got ended up being a really good one. And
Yeah, but you did your studying before, right?
kinda, I got
You got referred
I got
to by
referred by
people
a
you've
very
already trusted.
trustworthy source.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yep. And you guys will
Mhm.
probably get to meet her if you cuz I actually went over to her and her husband's house. Her husband's a musician, and he's going to be releasing songs with us, and she's got books that she wants published, and podcasts she wants to do, and I want to do podcasts with her, like it's going to be.
Mhm.
So you'll probably get to meet her at some point along the line if you pay attention to what we're doing. But she's awesome, man. She's so cool. Um
Yeah.
and yeah,
Awesome.
but
I'm
anyway,
excited to learn more about her.
what's that?
I said I'm excited to learn more about her. I know that she's done a great deal of help for you, so I'm just looking forward to
Mm-hmm.
maybe possibly getting to know her, even if it's not firsthand.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, she's wonderful, and so is her husband. Right? They're just such a great couple. And I was like, doggone it. And here's the funny thing, I was talking in a conversation with them. I was over at their house, and they're like, people meet up with us, and they get to be friends, and then all of a sudden they find their mate.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work out. I don't think I can be your friend.
Oh my. Certain phrases just take you off of Joe's friends list, I guess. I should
I
be
know.
careful.
Like
Mhm.
if you're gonna cause me to find some kind of mate,
Mhm.
I don't
Hey,
know.
mate.
Hey, mate.
Not all mates are mates.
That's
So,
that's true. That's
mhm.
very true. All right. All right, all right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so yeah, we're not therapists. We're not a substitute for that, but we do want to help, and we want to talk through some of this stuff. We want to offer you love and encouragement. That's the main thing. Is we just want to walk alongside you as you go through this stuff, because really, I mean, that's so important. Just to know that your feelings are valid, that you yourself are a valid human being, and you are worth it. You guys are worth us doing this show. You really are. And I don't
Mhm.
know. I've gotten to know a fair amount of you guys in my DMs, and I love you guys. You guys are just so awesome. Like, I love talking with you. I love hanging out. I love the times we get to be in VCs together and all that stuff. Like, you guys are just so cool. And I'm really honored that you decide to be my friend, to be quite honest.
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because you guys are human beings. You have your own life and decisions and your own, what's the word? Dignity
Mm-hmm.
and importance. And it's incredible that we can share any part of that life with you and that
Mm-hmm.
you would open up to us. I think it's such a blessing for all of us. It's awesome.
It is. It is. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. If you want to leave us a topic, you can do that at don'tworrywednesday.com. There's a link up in the chat if you scroll up a little bit. Saule put one in there most recently, it looks like. And so you can go there and click the submit a topic button and fill that out, and we get that topic. Or if you want to just send us something in the chat, we can go that route as well. Or you can also, we haven't used this one in a while. You can email us at dww@bss.studio. That's dww@bss.studio. Or you can reach out to us on Discord. There's all kinds of there's all kinds of places. Like, you can get us a topic, and we'd love to
Hmm.
talk about it. So
Ellie is with us, by
Ellie
the
is
way.
with us. I see Ellie in the chat. And we have a
Yeah, Ellie,
topic from Ellie.
we love you. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Juggling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Perfect.
Yep. I think we should start with it. What do you think?
Let's do it. I agree
All right.
completely.
All right. We're going to start with it. I'm going to do one last double check real quick here. And yep, we're good. So, all right. Ellie, we're going to start with yours. This is titled Priorities.
Mm.
And it's from Ellie. And I got a new keyboard and so forgive me.
Hmm.
Still figuring things out a little bit. But here we go. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it right. It's gonna be good. So all right. This is from Ellie. This is called Priorities. And I'm gonna put it up on the screen so you can read along while I read it aloud. So here we go. College is burning me out. I'm on the e-board for 3 different student organizations as president, vice president, and treasurer. And I have an on-campus job, 10 hours a week, and I normally take over 17 credits per semester. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I am taking a winter course right now and plan to take summer courses. My GPA is still over 3.5 somehow, but I feel super suffocated. I have a hard time admitting it's a lot because I like reassuring my family that I'm doing okay, and I was until now. The reason I do all this is because if I'm not, I will be wasting my time on the phone in my room doing nothing productive. I also spent a year on a different major and can't use those credits to my current major, so I want to catch up. Could I please have some help reorganizing my priorities? LOL. Sorry, but I trust your guys' perspective. And that is from Ellie. Ellie, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, like this topic, I'd be burnt out too, to be quite honest with you. And I really appreciate you sharing this situation. This is tough. And I admire you because you said in your topic that you loaded up your schedule like this because if you didn't do that, you would be wasting your time on your phone in your room or whatever. And I can tell you from personal experience that loading up your plate with a whole bunch of stuff doesn't necessarily prevent you from wasting a bunch of time doing nothing. You just have a whole bunch of stuff on your plate and you're still doing nothing. I've been in that situation before, right?
Kind of like running the hamster wheel. You're not going anywhere.
Well, or you're just
exhausting yourself staying in the same place. Or?
I think no. Part of it is, like I'm admired that you keep at it because a lot of times, like when there's a certain threshold that if I cross it, I just shut down and don't do anything. Like I load myself up with enough stuff, and then when there gets to be that when I cross the line into too much, I get overwhelmed and just stop.
Yeah, and then you just stop. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay, you're in your 3rd year right now, and yeah, I can see stuff starting to get tough in your 3rd year. Man. But I admire you that, like 17 credits is a big load. At least I know that when I was in college, I think the most I ever did was 16. And that caused me to have a nervous breakdown and drop out of school.
Yeah, I can imagine. I only took 10 when I was in college, and I was just like, that's enough for me. I don't want any more. Because I'd like to have time to actually do something I want to do. But yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's tough.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Haley says she's had to slowly learn over the course of my college semesters how to keep my sanity, avoid burnout, and keep up with all I need to do. I understand. Well, and Haley, I'm guessing if nothing's changed, you're still pre-med, which is very rigorous. And I know your work ethic, Haley. You are just incredible. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, sometimes we feel like we need to constantly be doing stuff. If we aren't working, we're failing. If we aren't taking a lot of credits, we're failing. Yeah, I can I can
Yeah.
resonate with that for sure. And, sometimes we want to be busy in order to feel productive, but there is a difference between being busy and being productive because sometimes we can just be busy doing a
Mm.
whole bunch of stuff. And one thing, like, from the time I was a little kid, I've my friends were always like, "You're just so busy. You're always so busy. You're always doing something." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Like I've got a lot of things I want to do. And I don't know,
Mhm.
like as I went through this journey with my therapist, I started to learn that some of that was probably in response to some early childhood things that happened that caused me to feel the need to just push and push and push and
Mm.
push and never be not busy. Always be doing something so then I could part of it might have been so that way I wouldn't get assigned more to do, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Like, hey, you're just standing around doing nothing. Well, if you got nothing to do, well, here, do this. And I didn't want to do whatever they said to do, so I would like to choose
Yeah.
what to
Fill
do.
your own thing out. Yeah.
hmm Ellie,
Mhm.
you say I'm just not sure where to cut myself some slack. Yep,
Mhm.
I can understand that. Wow, Haley, it's nice to see you again, by the way, and thank you
Yeah.
for all that you're putting in the chat. This is great. Um,
Mhm.
yep. So Haley says, the thing about so if we're not taking a lot of credits, we're failing. If we aren't doing the extracurriculars, we're failing. But that's a lie. We aren't failing. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to slow down if we don't get burned out and everything gets hard. If we don't, we get burned out and everything gets harder. From my experience, says Haley, slowing down, allowing myself time to be unproductive, taking a few less credits, etc., actually improves my productivity and makes everything more enjoyable. It's very true. So you can cut back on the amount of credits you're doing. Ellie asks, like, should I lessen the course load, take myself out of an organization? I'm already thinking about lessening work hours. Now, some of this could be subjective based on what your goals are, based on what your timeline is as far as your classes are concerned, depending on like your income situation, how your money's looking, if
Mm.
because if you're really really hurting for cash, then it might be good to maintain your work schedule. But then so I would probably say extracurriculars organizations, that'd be the first one on my chopping block, personally. But I guess that also depends on what those factor in, like how those organizations factor into your goals as well. Like because sometimes you have to have some kind of extracurricular stuff in order to get experience in order to have a job when you get done with school too, right? So there's kind of a balance in there that we seek to find. I don't know if there is such a thing as perfect balance in our schedules. I think
Mm.
we're always striving for balance, but maybe never quite getting there. So I don't know. Those are some things to consider. But I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of Ryan's way. I'm going to turn it over to him. And Ryan is one of the best people I know at maintaining an even keel as far as his attitude and his demeanor and his level of sanity and everything. Like he can have a lot of stuff going on but still be, just not freaking out, not stressing out, and, you know, maintain that coolness in his demeanor. So then he
Well,
can still be productive, which is, I admire that in you, Ryan. Like, that's
well,
an
thank you.
amazing trait.
I don't know how true that is because I only see things from my own perspective, and I can see where I fail with that. But I suppose,
Mm.
yeah, maybe there's some truth to that. I think for me, a lot of the time when I'm experiencing a lot of stress, I know that I'm experiencing it,
hmm
and so it's like I slow myself down a bit and tell myself, "Watch your words, retract what you just said, and reapproach it. Don't be mean. Think about the way that you just said that, like, um, you know, and be open about how you might be stressed out or struggling or whatever. do what you can to mitigate the damage,
Mm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So my mind is always in that mode, I suppose. If I'm stressed, which is so rare that I'm ever stressed in the first place. But if I am, I kind of force myself to slow down because to me, my relationships are more important than my work.
Mm.
And if I damage my relationships because I'm stressed, then it's backfired. The whole
Mm.
point of me working is backfired,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I slow myself down where I need to. And I think that might be, if you're in college, that's still a good example. Maybe it's not social things that you're worried about, but you have an end goal. And if what you're doing is possibly hurting your end goal, then you're going to want to slow down wherever you can find that ability to just stop for a second, rethink it, and then move forward. Um, so, you talked about priorities. So let's talk about priorities. I mean, I think when you're navigating life is an interesting thing because there are people who are goal oriented. There are people who are oriented to their dreams and stuff like that. There are people who are just living day by day. They don't really have a goal. They don't know what's going on. They're just living living however it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are carefree people. There are people who really want to get things done. And so we got all people from all sorts of different kinds of um, personalities and stuff like that. So there's no really easy way to necessarily navigate this, but I can tell you some overall ideas that can help. At least maybe attempt to help. I'm gonna quickly read what you said. There's also engineering society I got into. Oh wow. Okay, geez. Which is
Mm-hmm.
I'm in for the networking and the honors council. I'm into getting info on scholarships and more opportunities. Fair enough. Funny you should say that, Ryan. I'm pretty sure I froze out some friends because I didn't have enough time to talk for hours on end anymore. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to ask yourself, like, what's important and what's worth sacrificing? Here's the thing. There are things in your life that are worth sacrificing for. This is absolutely true. But you got to figure out what those things are so you can sacrifice for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know what those things are, you will make the wrong sacrifices. Unfortunately, because no matter what we do, we have to make choices and we
Mm-hmm.
have to sacrifice something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can figure out what it is you're after in life, what are important, the priorities, right? What's important to you, then that really helps you move along your path. And so, one thing I wanted to say is we're all different temperaments, we're all different personalities, we all have different things that drive us. Um, People might not be your thing. You might be task oriented rather than people oriented. You might care more about how you can apply yourself in the scientific world and make new discoveries, then you necessarily care about making those social experiences with people where you just learn about them and they learn about you, and that's your deal, right? There's all sorts of different kinds of people, but here's the thing. Um, if you go through life and you've got a foundation, it sets your path so that you can navigate however your personality type is. You can have a path. So I'm going to give you an example. Um, Joe and I are different people. We
Mm-hmm.
have different personalities.
No, we're the same person
Um,
actually.
oh shoot! Don't tell them that. Hey,
I'm kidding.
now my example's not going to work
No,
anymore.
we are totally different people.
Okay,
Yes.
we're different people. We like different things. We like same things. But we have a couple things in common. Our foundations are pretty similar, and that, um, of course, we're not only are we both Christian, we're both Catholic. We both have a lot of the same ideals. We both have a lot of the same. The way we look at the world is vastly different, but
Mm-hmm.
our foundations are quite similar. And what we want to do with the world that we can, with the time that we have in the world, what we want to reap out of it is pretty similar. We both want the best for the world. We both want to pull out the best in the world. We both want to um, make sure that our time that we spend here makes the world a better place,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want to create a culture that is more healthy than what we currently have in this world, right? I mean, it doesn't take long to venture outside of this community and notice that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of pain and suffering where it doesn't even need to be happening. There's a lot of drama and just terribleness that it's like, there's no reason for this. There's so much division in the world, people focus on how different we are, and then that means we're attacking each other. And there's all of that, and it's just horrible, right? Um, Even though we're so diverse, we can be friends and we can love each other and be on the same page in terms of like, hey, let's work together, let's be happy. Um, let's not try to hurt each other and stuff. But whatever, right? And so we'd like to create a better culture, right? And so we're on the same page. So what I mean my point to saying this is we have a foundation that is, what do I do? What actions can I take in this moment and going forward that's going to lead me on the path of virtue and being a good person, whatever, right? Whatever that is. And then also moving society forward in a good way, right? So knowing that that's important to us helps us take a path. Every day we live out these questions. What is going to be good, right? Every moment we have an option, we have a choice. And so every day, instead of going, this is, you can do a lot of different things, but instead of living life going, this is my goal, this is my end goal. Where's my end goal? My end goal is success, or my end goal is I don't know, I want to be rich, or I want to be famous, or I want to cure cancer, or whatever it is, right? Instead of necessarily having a concrete goal, we have a concrete way of living, a way of who we are, right? And that concreteness drives us down a path that every day we're making choices that will lead to maybe our goals, but we're not focused on the goal so much that we get carried away being willing to do anything to achieve it. We're focused on what good we can do every day, and that leads us towards what we want. And so it's kind of, my point of saying this is, when you look at yourself and you look at your life and you're asking, what do I want out of this life? Because you only have this one life, right? And you get to make you get to make some decisions about who you want to be in this life. You do get to make that decision. Now, part of this life is discovering who you are, right? And then the other part is deciding who you want to be. And if you can take a moment and figure out, who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? You'll find that it's going to be way less stressful to be that person you wanted to be than it is going to be stressful chasing after some intangible dream or goal at all costs, right? If you can figure out, this is the kind of person I want to be, and you live that life, that's not that stressful, even though that sounds scary. But if you go, I want these things, and these are the types of things I have to do to get there, you're far more likely to be stressed, because at some point down the road, you've neglected who you could be. You've kind of neglected, okay, what kind of person do I want to be? You've neglected that train of thought. And instead of being who you want to be, you're doing what you want to see. And it's kind of like, that's not the same thing. And so my greatest recommendation to you is, every moment. Now, of course, a lot of people say, live in the moment. I'm a future-oriented person, but I recognize that this moment is the only moment I have to act. And this moment, I can choose to be who I want to be, right? And I think that if you live your life making the decisions of who you want to be and who you want to become, and act like that person, you're going to be much more satisfied with your life, much more satisfied with who you are. In fact, you can be so satisfied with who you are and with your life, being thankful for whatever you have, than you'll ever be achieving what you dreamed of achieving. Because at the end of the day, when you achieve what you've dreamed to achieve, you still have to work on, well, who are you going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And that question still sits there and always eats at you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you achieve what you dreamed of achieving, there's going to be a moment where you feel success. There's going to be a moment of feeling like, I did it. I did it. I arrived. And then unfortunately, that's an emotion. And like all emotions, it's fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that feeling of achievement only lasts a couple of moments when you finally get it. It might be a week at most, though. And then you're going to want that next success, right? You're going to want that next success story. And then you're going to have to try even harder for something else and stress yourself out until you get that. And I've seen people live their lives that way. And their day to day, they're a broken person. They're not happy and they're just busy
Mm-hmm.
and it's rough. But I've seen people who don't have any who can't show any signs of success. They don't have a success story. But yet they're happy. They're pleased with life. They feel like they've done some of their mission and they have more mission to go on. But a lot of it is in perspective, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of it, it's not necessarily just about endurance. Because endurance is important. How much can you take before you crack, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Ellie, you're at the point where you're like, oh, geez, I'm kind of at that cracking point. You have really high
Mm-hmm.
endurance. It's awesome. Endurance is super important. But endurance is the level to which you're able to push yourself without damaging or without losing control of yourself, right? Endurance is being able to push through the pain without losing your sanity, right? Now, here's a question. It's great to have fantastic endurance, but if endurance is about rushing like, you know, through the gauntlet and taking a bunch of hits, what is it that's inside, right? What is inside of that person that you're protecting? That's worth protecting. That's worth enduring for, right? So Ellie, you have to ask yourself like, who am I inside that's worth enduring for? Because you're pushing hard and you're enduring greatness. Like you're doing a really good job. But sometimes you have to take a step back and go, okay, what am I enduring? Who am I enduring for? Like, what is it that I'm taking all this damage for? But also, who is it that's taking all this damage? And all these kinds of questions. And I know that's takes some time to get through that. But you said I'm not a career oriented person. The only thing I enjoy is music and reading, but not for others as any kind of job. I just sort of resign myself to not expecting fulfillment from a job. Yeah, that's okay. But I would say here's some thoughts, Ellie. Um, you're making me have too many deep questions. I have no answer for. No, that's fine.
It's
That's
okay.
good.
We're
It's
we're gonna
good.
we're gonna help you search for the answers.
Yeah, that's my point is my point is to bring you to a point where you're asking questions so that you can get your priorities. Because if you don't ask these questions, and I'm gonna do my best to help you through it, and Joe's going to as well. But if you don't ask these questions, you're never gonna find your priority that will be your foundation about how you live every moment as you achieve your goals and dreams. Not losing yourself along the way. Because if you lose yourself along the way, who have you achieved the goals for? You don't even know, and it sucks. And that's from personal experience. That's from a lot of experience of other people. It's just how it goes. So, I'm sorry, don't mean to make you shake, Ellie. You're awesome. Yeah, sorry for going so hard on the deep end, but I think it's really important for you, because you're an important person, and you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
You are an important person that is worth deeply getting into, deeply thinking about. You're such an important person. You're worth diving deep into that person and learning and figuring some of these questions out, so that you have so that you know I don't know, so a great number of things, happiness, joy, all these kinds of things. And you know, you said one of the things that makes you joyful is music and reading, and I think that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, here's the thing that you said. I just sort of resigned myself to not expecting fulfillment from a job. I think that's fair. A job's not meant to fulfill you because there's so much more to you than just a job. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right on for that. But there are jobs that are fulfilling. They're just not ultimately fulfilling, right? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
There are jobs that you're going to enjoy and you're going to find yourself like doing. You don't have to hate where you end up,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't have to hate where you end up. You can be joyful and thankful for where you end up. Um, so don't hate it. Don't go in thinking, oh, whatever I ended up doing, I just want to do it so that I get the most money with the least amount of hate. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
um, fair, but that's just damage mitigation. Why don't you just go search for life, like something that, you know, you feel like is helpful, something that you feel like is really good, something that you like enjoy and you feel connected to on a deeper level rather than just unfortunately living the life where you're just like, well, yeah, I'll just take whatever pays the most with the least amount of effort. It's
Mm.
fine. It's fine. I think that's fine. Not that you've
That's called
taken that route, because
efficiency.
obviously you haven't. Yeah, efficiency is good. Yeah. And by the way, Ellie, I'm not accusing you of trying to take the least amount of effort to get the most amount of money, or even
Well,
to try to aspire to be rich or whatever. I'm just making statements that are blanket statements for all sorts of different categories. So, um, now I've talked a lot. I've got you thinking. I've got you shaking, and I'm sorry about that. I love you, Ellie. I'm so sorry. Um, I'm gonna step back now because I think that's probably the best thing I can do because I've got you to the point where you're asking questions, and that's where I need you to be so that you can get yourself moving forward again. Because a lot of times the reason we're not, a lot of times when we come to this kind of conflict, the main reason is we haven't given ourselves a moment to think.
mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's been how many years? At least 3 years since you haven't given yourself a moment to just kind of delve into this,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out where on earth are you even going. um because if you've been so busy that you've been occupying your time with all this so you don't even have to ask those questions you've unfortunately on accident run away from them, and they need to be answered. But anyways, I'm gonna stop here and give you some cool. And I'm going to give it over to Joe. I don't know what Joe's got to say, but I'm sure it's going to be helpful.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. I'm
We'll
gonna do
help.
my best.
All of us will find out, or at least you, Ellie, will find out if any of this isn't helpful at all, or if
Right.
it just makes you freak out. Yeah,
I
I don't ever want you to freak out.
I hope what I have to say is helpful. You know, I gotta say, Ellie, I am very, very proud of you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like what you are doing is wonderful, and
Yeah,
like it's proving that you can work hard, right? You said in your
without a
your
doubt.
your question on the your last question on the thing, what you asked for help with was help reorganizing your priorities, right? And so hopefully we can help do that. But I like I like one of the things Haley said here toward the end. She said one of the most important the most important thing is your happiness. What's the point in doing everything if you feel miserable doing it? There's some great wisdom in that. Because if you work really, really hard and then you end up in a place where you're miserable, then that's not like you start questioning, hey, was this even worth it? Was any of this even worth it? Like what was the point of
Mm-hmm.
any of this, right? And you know, that's very true. So I ran off while Ryan was talking for like 3 seconds, and I grabbed this book off my shelf. It's called Pales, that I had bought years ago. I don't even know if it's available anymore. But and basically it's an acronym, PAILS, PAILS, and it's like potential and actualization goes into was the I into legacy and spillage was kind of this guy's idea
Mm.
on how you do things. So you have all this potential, right? And when you're in school, you're kind of you're still in that potential zone where you're building yourself and you're working towards completing an education where you can then get some actualization where it's a job. But I would argue and say that once you get that job, that's still You're still kind of in potential mode because the job isn't really the destination. Like Ryan was talking about, it's a way for you to provide for yourself while you reach toward actualization, while you reach toward those things that you really want out of your life. Now, sometimes people, their career can be very fulfilling, and their life can be a part of that. I know people who want to be doctors, and they have just this overarching, drive to help people and to heal people and all this kind of stuff, and their life can kind of revolve around what they do for a career, right? But a lot of times we get a job just so we can make some money. And that's kind of what the school system pushes us into. It's like, okay, like, what do you want to do with your life? Blah, 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 and it was so funny. My son, he just released a song with us a few months ago, and he's in high school, and he talked to his guidance counselor, and he had the same kind of conversation that I had with my high school guidance counselor. They're like, what do you want to do? He's like, well, I want to make music. And they're like, well, that's not a very reliable career. And he's like, I don't know. I just released a song. It's got over 10,000 streams.
Nice.
My first one. This is my first one, right? So,
I love it.
but but that's part of. I like that because what it does is it's helping him understand that there's more to life than just a job, right? And one of the things now, Haley said, the most important thing is your happiness. I want to make sure that there's a definition. I'm sure Haley didn't mean equate happiness with pleasure, but that's what the world will equate happiness with.
Sure. Yeah, that's an important distinction.
So it's not about seeking pleasure. It's not about seeking, getting stuff, like these things, they can cause us to feel good when we get stuff, when we buy stuff, or when we achieve something or whatever, it can cause us to feel good. We feel this good, pleasurable experience, but that's not really happiness. Happiness is more of a choice, and we can seek joy, right? Which is more of a chosen thing. And it's really tough when you're in school and you're under all this stress and you're under the gun so much. It's hard to even know which way is up sometimes because you're just buried under all this stuff. And it's like, how can I even think about self-actualization? How can I even think about what I want to pursue as a goal or a dream or whatever? I've too much to do. Right? I can totally relate because I've been there before. Even after I achieved my dream career now, which is kind of what I have, at BSS, the position that I'm in is what I really want to do for a living. But even then, there are times when it's like super stressful and overwhelming and it's not feeling much like actualization. It just feels like work. And sometimes that's, I think Henry Ford said, success, a lot of people don't achieve success because it shows up in overalls and looks like work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. But yeah, Ellie, you said in the chat, okay, so I told myself that I wouldn't satisfy myself with a career. Then I wouldn't work for myself. I would work for the sake of others. That's awesome. And to work to help others around you and to help the world around you, that's awesome. And one of the things about a job is it can bring you money and feed you, right? But that's where a lot of people stop. And so then the question is, okay, what are the kinds of things that are fulfilling to you? You have the job, you have the career, whatever, that's making you some money so you can eat and you have a place to live and you can have indoor plumbing and, all these amenities and stuff, right? Like, because it's good to have these things. And then what is the next step? And this is where you dig in and start to figure out who you are as a person, what kinds of things make you tick. What kinds of things make you come alive? You said music and reading. And all this stuff, like, and those are wonderful things. Now, is making music or just listening to music one of those things? And then when it comes to reading, are you also interested in writing, being an author of some kind, or, like, because I see music and books, and in my perspective, I'm like, well, I read a lot of books. I've thought about writing books. I listen to music, but now I listen to music for study purposes and for research purposes and everything. I don't hardly ever listen to music just to enjoy it because I'm a musician and I produce music, and I'm always just like looking for a way to continually improve what I do.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So like listening to music now for me is not for enjoyment. It's like study. And I went and hung out with my best friend from high school. I saw him over the weekend. It was really cool. And he's playing me all this music from like New Orleans, because he's doing a bunch of research for a book he's writing in New Orleans. And he's like, yeah, imagine these guys just like they got these like Cajun marching band guys. They're just like marching down the street playing their horns. Like 15 dudes just like coming together, and they just walk down the street and play. And he's playing me this music, and I'm like, that's really awesome, but it's hard for me to shut off the analytical side of me when it comes to that, right? So then what happens is we gotta come to the point of looking at what's going to be fulfilling for me. I see you said in the chat, Ellie, what was it? So my whole career shtick is I want to go into chemical engineering to work in R&D in the energy sector because I hate pollution and I want to increase efficiency of clean energy. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And that makes a difference in the world. And when you can feel connected to making a difference in the world, that's great, because that can bring some sense of fulfillment, right? And so the key then is when you're in those stages of working hard, because working hard is going to be necessary no matter what you decide to do. You're going to work at it, is to keep those reasons why you're working hard in mind. Otherwise, we just get buried deeper and deeper into the stress and we get overwhelmed and all this kind of stuff, right? So if you can keep in mind those things of why you're doing what you're doing, that's important. I worked so many menial jobs for so long. And I had to keep in front of me, because I worked at a car wash. I worked at a boating supply store. I worked at a grocery store. I worked, all these different places. I did sales for numerous places. I did sales for TV service, and I don't even watch TV. I don't even care about TV. I didn't sell very much TV service because I didn't really? How am I going to sell something I'm not into?
Yeah.
Right?
If you're door to door, that's never going to work.
I'm much better at selling spots on the BSS roster for musicians.
That's right.
And those don't cost people any money, really, right? It just is going to cost them effort, But where am I going with this? Oh, if you can keep why you're doing it in mind, that's important. The reason I did all those jobs was to bring in money, to bring in income. There was a time I was working 3 jobs. I was working in and out. I was doing coding for, different products in stores. And I was working also stocking shelves at a grocery store. And I was a property inspector all at the same time. And it was nuts. And the whole time I had to keep in mind, why am I doing this? Well, the reason I'm doing this is because I want BSS to be successful, a music production company, music and media production, right? So how does that fit in? Well, I needed money because I had kids, and at the time I had a spouse, right? And so I needed to, provide as best I could while doing these other things. So when you go and complete a college degree, what that does is that'll open up a lot of doors for different income levels for you, for higher income levels for you. So you won't have to work the menial minimum wage jobs, you know, to try and get by while you pursue your passion. Because I can tell you from experience, that's really difficult. But it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes the lifestyle from a job that you don't really like all that well can be really good because of the income. And so you can get addicted to the income. So I guess in a way I was fortunate, because my income was always junk and the jobs were always junk, that I was like, I hated them enough that I always wanted out. So I was willing to work hard to get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are some things to consider. But I think you're on a really good path, and I'm sorry that it's so stressful right now. But yeah, when it comes to priorities, priority number one is what's going to make you happy. What's going, like, when you figure out who you are, as you start to discover more and more about yourself, what are the things that make you come alive as a person? Is it helping other people? It sounds like doing something good for the world helps you come alive a little bit. Sounds like doing stuff for other people. I mean, really, serving other people is one of the best things we can do that makes us all really come alive. I think when we're doing something where we're trying to be helpful for others, it really is, it's an enlivening experience.
Yeah.
When we're all about ourselves and we're all about our own success and our own money and all this kind of stuff, it really just kind of makes us empty. We fake ourselves out with buying stuff. We fake ourselves out with, having nice stuff and, like all this kind of stuff, and trying to impress people that don't care. Like, look at how cool my jacket is. Like, that's great. I mean, sometimes things are cool, but it's like that's such shallow living from my own experience. I never found much fulfillment in material gain. The most fulfillment I ever found was in, working with other people for some kind of common purpose that was going to enrich the lives of other people. And that, when you can take your own talents and the things that you're into, and you can find a way to enrich the lives of the people around you and the world around you, that's kind of like one of those sweet spots in your life. So with that in mind, you have classes, you have a job, and you have organizations you're a part of. Right? Extracurricular organizations and stuff like that. So here's the thing. I said at the beginning, maybe the extracurriculars might be first on the chopping block, but there's a caveat to that. If the extracurricular is fulfilling that desire to be helpful for other people and enrich the world around you, then that might be something to stick with, because it's going to keep you connected to your reason why. And it's going to give you an outlet to provide joy for others, to provide help for others, and inherently joy for yourself as well. Right? Mm-hmm. Haley mentioned, let's see, I got to scroll up now. There's a bunch of chat. Haley said, I'm thinking of taking a gap year. Some of my classmates might graduate earlier or later. It's all okay. We move at our own pace. Just find what works best for you while enjoying life. I love that statement, because it's okay. Like, if you need to back off on your courses so you can keep doing the fulfilling part of an organization that you're in, or two, or whatever, because that's super important. Because that keeps you connected to who you are. And if it just takes you a little bit longer to finish school as a result, then it will be well worth it, right? A job, it depends on how much you're hurting for money and how much loans are available, and there's all kinds of different things. I don't ever want to tell people that they should go into debt, but it's kind of like a normal thing, like we kind of go into debt for different reasons, and education is one of them, and it's generally a pretty good one, depending on what you're going to get on the back end, right? So it's definitely an acceptable reason. So if the job needs to go, then or maybe need to cut back on hours. I know you're only working 10 hours a week right now. But maybe that needs to happen too. But if the money is needed, then maybe that needs to stay. So in order to determine which ones of these things you want to get rid of, these are some things to think about. What's fulfilling for you, right? What causes you to come alive? If the extracurriculars help in that area, I would at least keep one of them. Okay? Courses, a lot of times, in my experience personally, now this might not be the same for everybody, but when I loaded myself up with courses and work and all that kind of stuff, it was really pride talking and how I wanted to look to everybody else. This is me. I'm not saying this is you, Ellie. So don't get me wrong. I don't know your situation. I don't know any of that stuff. For me personally, I wanted to look like I was tough and I could handle it and all this kind of stuff, right? And I could do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Not you calling
Oh yeah,
me.
I've done so much under that account. Yeah.
Yeah, where it was just like I wanted to show people that I was capable. And that was pride, right? And I didn't want to have people, either pity me or be upset with me. I was more concerned that they would be upset with me because, oh, like you can't do it. Well, you're not good enough. And that was a big struggle for me, is being good enough, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Haley, we are all guilty of that. Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
But let's call a spade then and say it's pride. And then in that moment, sacrificing some pride is good for us. It's painful. Sacrificing anything
it's
is
hard to
painful.
swallow, but it's always worth swallowing.
Mm-hmm. Sacrificing friendships. You mentioned about freezing out some of the friendships because you were busy. That's painful too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the sacrifices are always going to be painful.
Yep.
And it's okay. It's part of what we experience. It's part of the human experience, right? But if you can keep in mind where you are going, keep in mind what you're going to rather than what you're going through. I know that's like a cliche statement, but it's real. Right? Keep focused on that. And what happens when you focus on what it is that you're headed towards, why you're doing all this stuff, like it's a lot easier for your priorities to fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is. Because then, if we're just focused on the things that we're up against, this task, next thing, before we know it, we're just immersed and drowning in the muck of all of our tasks that are overwhelming. But then when we can focus and have a clear vision on what it is that we're going to, what we want our life to look like, then we can start to say, okay, this can go, this can stay, this can go, this can stay, and it's a lot easier to logically think through those things. We're not going to escape the hurt of sacrifice. We're not going to escape that pain. I'm sorry. But the question is it worth it? And sometimes the sacrifice has to be made for our own mental health, for the mental health of people around us. Sometimes painful moments have to happen. This is unrelated, to this type of situation, but I had that very exact thing happen when I decided to file for divorce. I knew everybody was going to get hurt. The most heartbreaking, my kids. I knew everybody was going to get hurt. But the way life was, there was no other choice. The more I looked at it, the more I figured it out. The more I looked at the past, the more I looked at the way things were going. The more I looked at the dangers of what could happen if I had stayed in that situation.
It's
That
like
was
everything is only
worse.
going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of those potentials were worse, and there was not going to be any healing, and it was going to be really, really hard for everybody. So the sacrifice had to be made, and it exploded, and everybody got hurt, just like I thought. Right? So it's probably not that. I mean, it's totally different. It's apples to oranges, right? But the principle is the same. Sacrifice is painful, but sometimes it's necessary. And it sounds like maybe something's necessary here that you may need to make a sacrifice or two, and always make it with the priorities, like what Ryan was talking about. Start with who you want to be. Start with what that person is that you envision yourself as. Not necessarily the job you want to do, but the person that you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
So if you go back and listen to Ryan, all those things that Ryan said are so true and so real, and it's like, and that gets to the heart of the matter. Once you have that foundationally, all those things Ryan was talking about, then you can start to decide where, what things need to stay and what things need to go. So anyway, I've now talked for a while, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan.
I appreciate
Do
that.
you have anything that you want to continue on this?
I mean, I want to say that I think you did a great job of
Wow.
kind of unpacking some of the things I was saying and doing it in a lot more gentle way, honestly. And I think you had a lot of really good, important wisdom that you had to share. I mean, you've definitely lived through a lot of this yourself. So, I mean, it's no surprise to me that you had a lot to say because you've gone through this. And I think you said a lot of really good, important things.
We know how to shake some sense into you, huh? Like
That's
I'm
good.
sorry, but I hope we can do it and still. I hope you still know that you are loved. And we're
Hmm.
not doing this to be
Yeah.
mean. We're not doing this to, I mean, we genuinely just want to help because you are worth it. You are worth having success in this area.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think Ellie knows that. That's why
Yeah.
they felt like they could come and ask, like they said, they trust us. And I think that's really, I mean, I'm honored. I'm very honored, Ellie, that you
Mm-hmm.
would trust us. Because, I mean, here's the thing. I quit my second year of college. Um, well, I finished it, but I said, I'm not going to take a third semester. My mom was like, you have to. And I said, I've got more important things to do with my life. I've figured out that this isn't it. Whatever I'm going towards, this isn't taking me there. And so my mom, and as a sign of love, but a sign of strictness, she said, "Well, then you're gonna have to go live somewhere else. I won't have you in my house anymore." And that's the deal. And she said, "That's the deal, or you're gonna go do a second, or sorry, go do a third year of college." Because to her, college was everything. You know, she didn't get a chance at college, and so she had to work really hard to get where she was. She got into real estate, but it was like, man, she worked 3 jobs before that. What I mean is 3 jobs at once. And when she started real estate, she was working 3 jobs.
Mm.
And she was working so hard.
That is,
And so she didn't
man,
want
two
that for
jobs,
me.
one job is plenty. 2 jobs is hard. 3 jobs is just about kill yourself. Like
Yeah.
it will kill
Yeah.
you because like 3 jobs, man, trying to juggle those schedules, holy cow.
I know. It's just the scheduling alone it's a job.
Well, and
It's like
then she
having four
started real
jobs.
estate while having 3 jobs.
I think she quit one of the jobs to start real estate. So she still had 3 jobs when she was working before and then after
Because
she
that's
started.
entrepreneurship. Because real estate, that's not
Yeah.
really a job. You're kind of a
Right.
business owner. That you're
Right.
self-employed at that point,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
another layer.
Yeah. Which is a whole nother layer. Yeah. She's amazing. But
She
slowly
is.
over time, she
Mhm.
ended up working him down until she only had to work real estate. And then eventually now she's retired. But um anyways, she's like, you need to finish college because I don't want you to have to go through what I did. And I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate that. But I said, look, I don't know where my life's gonna take me, but I know that I'm I'm called to something more important, and this isn't going to get me there.
Mm.
This isn't
Mm.
the vehicle. And she said, okay, I'll leave it up to you. Either you can stay here and continue college, or you can leave. And I said, well, she said, give it a week and come back to me. And I gave it a week and I came back to her and said, yeah, I'm going to pursue something that matters to me. Something that matters to the world, something where I can be my fullest.
Mm.
Somewhere where I can um, have a chance at doing something I understand that I'm doing good, rather than going and not knowing I'm doing any good at all. And she said, okay, fine. So she helped me find a place to stay. I stayed with my brother, actually. So that was nice. And we stayed in this little, it was literally originally a house for chickens to stay in.
Mm.
So it's 2 stories. You probably remember this house. You were in it at least once. No, you were in it a
Me?
couple times.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
this was
there.
in West
I remember
Palm.
you had
Yeah,
your keyboard sitting on the kitchen counter or whatever, like there
that's right. Yeah,
was.
yeah. And I sang into a refrigerator box.
Yep, that was
Um,
hey. And that was
hey,
how we did our first recording together.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, our first
Yeah.
recording project was so bare bones, man. Oh my gosh. We'll have
Mm-hmm.
we'll have
Yeah.
another show where we just talk BSS lore. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, I was just working Taco Bell, and I
yeah.
only worked a couple days a week because that's all that they put me on for. But anyhow, couple years, it was like probably only a year later. But anyways, she was just like, "I'm so proud of you for pursuing something that made a difference in the world." And so even though like I said, she didn't want me to do it. I had to make a sacrifice. And I knew that sacrifice. I came up face first to like I face first. I came into it head on going, this is going to disappoint my mom. I don't know how to approach this. This
Mm.
is going to make the person that like I'm doing this for is for my mom, basically. Because I know that she cares about me and she wants me to do this. And society tells me to do this and it's the only
Mm-hmm.
way, blah blah blah. And I had to come to a decision. I was like, but personally inside me, I know that it's wrong and I should be
Mm.
doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I
need
remember
to do what
admiring
I'm
you so
supposed to do.
much. I admire you so much for
Well,
that decision. It leads to a tough road
yeah,
for sure.
it leads to a tough road for sure. But
But I admire your conviction and
it
listening
was,
to your
yeah.
heart.
Mm-hmm. It was, thank you. Thank you. It was absolutely 100% worth it. Even if it was maybe a tough road. Maybe it wasn't a tough road. I don't know. I can't tell you what the other road would have been like. But I can tell you that I'm so happy that I made the choices that I made. So my point of saying all this is don't be afraid of other people and what they think.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of the pride. Don't be afraid of making those sacrifices that are important because there's a life out there that is a wealth of good and loveliness and something you would trade it all for. But the hard part is you have to trade it now. And I think, yeah, and you're right. It sounds like I had a good amount of discernment, and I did. Yeah, I sat there and I discerned it. I took time to just sit there. Like you know, woke up in my bedroom, and then I paced in my room for a couple of hours. I was like, I need to do this. And then later that day, I probably went to college and I came back and I paced some more. And I went to sleep and probably just thought in bed and didn't go to sleep. And then finally I just was like, you know what? I got to do what I got to do. Because at the end of the day, I can run this charade where I'm just trying to appease people and make myself look good, or I can become something that is an incredible person, right? I could become an incredible person that makes a big difference in this world. I can become something maybe more akin to what my creator made me for or made me like. And I'm like, I got to take the route that's going to be best for me and best for the people around me, even if at first it comes with some sacrifices. So I just want to encourage you with that story, even though there's so much more to that story than just that. But I want to encourage you in a little bit with that story because it's absolutely worth it. If you can if you can know that what you're doing is good as opposed to just finding ways not to get into trouble, right? A
Wait,
lot of people
what
live
if you're
their
finding ways to get into trouble?
yeah, you can find ways to
Because
get into
that's
trouble too. That's a different thing. It's a whole different thing.
why do you think I go to confession so much, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's great. Um, well, like, and I've said this before on many streams, Ellie. I'm not sure if you've heard it before, but an unfortunate amount of people. One person is an unfortunate amount of people, but really, the reality is, most people live this one life they were given. They live the whole thing trying to figure out how to avoid pain. And every choice they make, every habitual thought that crosses their mind is, how do I avoid pain? And our minds are wired around it. I mean, that's why we experience pain in the first place, to know what to avoid. Right, right. But the problem is living your life trying to avoid the most pain, even if it's financial pain. So I got to get a job, I have to go to college, blah, blah, blah. It could be social pains. It could be pains of how you look at yourself, pride, so on and so forth. Yeah, thanks, Cal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we live because pain is so painful and we've encountered it and we build walls and it sucks, right? We know about building walls. We live our whole lives trying to figure out how do we avoid pain. And we never just live it in spite of pain. Because if you can live your life out in spite of pain and say, I'll mitigate damage, but I'm not going to let pain stop me from being good. I'm not going to let pain stop me from being my best. I'm not going to let pain stop me from making the right decisions. You will live a life you will never regret. You will live a life that brings about so much more good into this world that you it will astonish you and it will surpass what you even know. Because what we do with our lives, we don't know how far those it reaches out. It goes beyond our life. It goes into the next generation. It goes into 3 generations below us, right? And it's like we don't know what that is. What I do know is that life is worth living and that it's worth living the best we can, and that pain is something to be contested, but not something to be run from every day of our lives, trying to figure out how to avoid it. Because otherwise, we're just letting pain control our lives. We're letting the fear of pain control everything that we decide in life. And that's not living. That's slavery.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually legitimately the kind of the real definition of slavery, because you're a slave to what you fear of pain rather than just going, I'm going to do my best with this and make it awesome. And yeah, that takes a little bit of deliberation. It takes a little bit of thought. It takes getting used to it. It takes developing habits. It takes a lot. Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. Right here and right now, you have choices you can make. You have choices that you can improve your life. You have choices that you can make right now that, yeah, you might have to sacrifice some extracurriculars. You might have to sacrifice whatever. But like Joe said, if you have something that you feel is like you're helping people out in the world and that feels good to you, you don't have to sacrifice those things. Like Joe said, keep yourself connected and ground to your ultimate objective, something that you want that's good in the world, right? Keep yourself associated with those things because that's going to be awesome. And that's how you like keep yourself going, right? Because if you get out of that, yeah, it can be a lot harder, a lot harder. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. I don't need to go into it, but you get it. So I'm just gonna, yeah. And on that note, definitely, I know that this is a hard, challenging thing, and I'm proud of you. Proud of you for getting where you are at now, and I'm proud of you for getting out of this what you've gotten. Don't be in any state of regret over of the choices you've made so far. Where you are now is important, and how you got here is important. It's more important to be thankful than it is to be regretful. And so I wanted to say, be thankful for the amount of tenacity you had. Be thankful for the amount of endurance you had. Be thankful for every path you've taken up to this point. Now you're at a point where you get a chance to make a big decision. Or you can make no decision at all. But if you're in this position that you are in right now, it seems to me like you need a big decision.
Mm.
Because you don't want to continue living out where you are living, what you're living in right now. So a big decision needs to happen, right? And it might just be, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to quit a couple of these courses. It really isn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you're a big deal, not those courses.
Exactly.
You are the big deal, right? And you're the one that matters. You are the one that matters in this. And I understand it's like, well, that's my future out there. And it's like, yeah, that's your future out there. You matter. So like, make sure it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And care about the things that are worth caring about. Everything else, it's fluff and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fluff is just fluffy.
Anyways, fluff is, I love fluffy stuff, but
Fluffy
only
fluff.
like blankets and stuff.
Right, I know. Not the
lettuce.
not the fluff of life fluff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it that way.
Materialism fluff, all that kind of fluff. I have to give a shout out to Cats. Cats, I don't know if you're still here, but you said I'm not sure what I want, but I know who I am.
Yeah, that's a good quote.
That is super great. And Kat says, I know who I am. Anyone here can vouch. I have a personality and this sense of self-confidence that sticks out. Really?
I've never seen that.
I've never.
What are you talking about? Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know where I'm going from here, Kat says. I know where you're going from here. At least partly.
Oh, okay.
You just need to ask me. I'll tell you.
That's great.
But anyway, I want to ignite the drive in your soul. Yes, I love that. And I want to ignite one other thing in there. I got to bring out Angry Joe for a second. Just for a second, because everything Ryan was saying was perfect. It was right on. And here's the thing. This is where the anger gets directed. There are people that are going to tell you, if you don't do all this right, your life is going to be wrecked forever.
Right. Yeah, don't.
They're the same type of people who say, you can't start a publishing company. That kind of thing can't be done. You can't start a this. You can't do that. You can't do that. They're going to put barriers in your life, and then they're going to tell you that if you don't do all this perfectly, your life is over. Screw that. Your life isn't over. It just adds to the flavor of your journey.
That's right.
You can do whatever you want. Anything you want to be, you can be it. We live in a time now where you can totally do that. You feel like you should be scared? Don't be scared. I'm not angry at you guys. I'm not angry at a person. I'm angry at a situation where people believe this belief system, where people think there are barriers in our way and you can't do certain things because you can. You just got to figure out how. All these things are possible. You just got to figure out how. And there is a way, and there are people who know how, and a lot of times they're willing to teach you and help you. But somebody who just says, oh, if you drop one of those classes, oh my gosh, and then you're going to wreck your whole career. No, it's not. But I have people tell me that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, your life is going to be, you're going to wreck your whole life if you do this. No, it's not the case.
There are very few things that wreck your whole life if you do them. Some of them being illegal actions.
That's true. If you end up in prison for a long time, that can put a big dent in things. But I still know people who have gone to jail and come out and succeeded in other things.
Absolutely. Actually, there's definitely people who've gone to jail and then come out being awesome people and really successful.
So the door's not closed for, as long as you're breathing, You got a chance in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not over. And it just adds to the drama and the joy of the journey. And if you can start to look at your life as a movie, like it's like, okay, my high school guidance counselor, if we followed his advice. Now, I don't know about all your guys' high school guidance counselors, but mine, everybody who followed his advice, their life movie would be so boring. Oh, well, they just did everything perfectly, and they went to college, and they went and got a job, and then they did their job, and then they had their little house, and their little dog, and their little 2.5 kids, and their little white picket fence, and they did
4.5. I always feel bad for number 0.5. That's
number
so
0.5,
sad.
but it's a statistic, and like
I
all
know.
these kids had half a kid,
2.5 kids.
2.5 kids, man. It's probably 1.5 now, or maybe 1.875. I don't know.
Yeah.
But seriously, what kind of, when you have stuff happening, and when you have things that are difficult, and when you have those times that feel so crushing, Ryan and I wouldn't have any stories to tell on this if we didn't have stuff like that happen in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it adds to the drama. It adds to and then when you come out on the other side and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like that was so hard, but I did it, man. Those are moments.
It adds to the wisdom.
Oh
It adds
my
to the amount
gosh.
of good you can put into the world too. It's
Wisdom,
incredible.
good, like relatability, empathy, all these areas that just deepen who you are. It's incredible. And so, Ellie, whatever you decide, you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Make your priorities, try. It might work great, it might not. And if it doesn't, rather than, like, it's easy to beat ourselves up and get down on ourselves and all that kind of stuff, right? But the sooner you can just recognize, oh, that wasn't the right path, I can make an adjustment, because you can make an adjustment. You're never locked in forever. You might have to, like, get through a semester, or get through a 6-month period, or get through some kind of contract, or whatever happens, whatever stage in life you're in, right? You might have to go through a certain set of events, but you can make an adjustment. And there's always hope. So, Ellie, whatever you decide, it's okay. You're going to be okay. And you're more than welcome always to message us. You're welcome to reach out on Discord. I am at plebnub on Discord. Ryan is at static P with no hyphen on Discord.
That's right.
I know Haley offered, and you've got people that are willing to talk to you and help you, and willing to listen. And
just to add on to that note, just to kind of put a nail in the coffin.
Nail that
the
coffin.
thing Michelle was talking about.
Are you
and then
nailing
we'll
my
move on.
coffin,
We've talked about this for a long time.
We did.
No, not no. Yeah. So what was I gonna say? Okay. Now all I can think about is nailing coffins. Darn it. So when in life you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna make decisions that carry you in one path for a while, and you figure out that's not worth it. That's okay. Here's the thing. Like we said before, your success isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is the person you are and the person you become. That is the most important thing, because that is the thing which will decide all the other things, right? Who you become is going to decide what kind of output you put into the world, right? It's like, if you become, out of this engagement that you had with life so far, become a very bitter person. Well, what are you going to put into the world because you're a bitter person? You're going to put bitterness into the world, right? So who you become along this journey is the most important thing.
Yes.
So sometimes, here's the thing. You never lose the ability to become something. You make decisions the game isn't over just because you made a bad decision,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's right.
So Joe was talking about, there are many times, there are many people out there. He's like, you're going to ruin your life if you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, no, because you are still you and capable of making decisions in the future. You're capable of, hey, you know what? You can be 40 and go back to school. Actually, I knew quite a few people who did that.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're willing to swallow your pride over the fact that, okay, you're older than most people there, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to make your life the best you can make it. Who cares about what you look like to other people who just are cynical people? Who cares about that? Just be kind and generous to them, and they're gonna be like, oh, you know what? Actually, blah 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 is actually pretty cool. Yeah, they're 40 years old, but they're awesome. I'd be their friend. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you are the most important thing. So the project is you,
Mm-hmm.
not the world,
Right.
right? And so I would say, don't get caught up in the ideas that if you just up and quit college right now, not that I'm suggesting because I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
but you make a huge insane decision like that, just like, okay, I'm done with college, bye. Your life's not over, and you didn't just ruin it because you are still you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can focus on you and make you an incredible person capable of doing incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
People who do incredible things are generally incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
Because people who do really good things in the world, usually really good. People who do terrible things in the world, they're pretty terrible people. Like, that's just the way it is.
Or they make terrible
You can,
decisions.
or they make terrible
They,
decisions.
they,
Yeah,
they
unfortunately, that
generally,
happens.
generally people who are terrible like that, they don't have a
Yeah,
heart for other people. They're
right.
pretty self-centered a lot of times,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, that's
and it's
absolutely
and
true.
it's
Yeah,
sad.
I don't mean to
They're
bash on
they're
anybody.
kind
It's a
of
sad
bound
thing.
by
It's
themselves.
unfortunate. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's more important to work on who you are than just to work on your career, because who you become is going to decide everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to decide how fruitful your career is in the first place. So, um, yeah, get priority number one straight, which is you.
Mm-hmm.
The rest will fall in line, because if you get you straight, you'll make the decisions and things happen necessary to go out and pursue something good. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to end with that.
Mm-hmm.
You're super important.
You
That's
are.
the number one.
You are. Kishan Slayer says, met a retired guy who flunked out of college, started a full career. When he was 40 or so, he went back to college, learned computer science, started another career that was profitable enough to retire. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Your life is going to create a beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And this moment where you're stressed out and struggling, it's a defining moment. It can be a great turning point for you figuring some things out, figuring out what's important, all that stuff. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. I mean, yeah, talk about, hey, if you're a college dropout, you're in pretty good company.
Mm-hmm.
Got some
Sam Walton, I
pretty,
don't even.
got some pretty wealthy, successful college
Dell.
dropouts out there. Michael Dell
Yeah. Michael Dell, who started
of
the
Dell
Dell Computer
Computers.
Company, who is still around today.
Interesting story about Dell Computers. Michael Dell, I haven't told this story in forever. I remember telling this story all the time. It was
awesome.
great, but this story was Michael Dell was given a choice. I think it was his junior year in college. He started a business building computers for people in his college dorm room. And he got called out by the college administration, and they were like, you got a choice to make, buddy. You either finish school like you're supposed to. Don't wreck your life. Finish school. But if you're going to finish school, you got to shut down your business because you can't be doing that in the dorm. So they gave him the choice. Right. They're like, either stay in school or continue your little computer building business. Right? And the funny thing was, this is the hilariousest thing, right?
Most hilarious.
This was great because so he decided, he's like, well, forget you guys. I'm already making more out of my college dorm room than the career that I've chosen to major in when I graduate. Right? So he's like, I'm already making more money doing this. I'm going to keep doing that. You know, apparently I'm not wrecking my life. He didn't wreck his life. And he went through all this drama with a college, right? And then when I went to Michigan State University, and they were looking at, like, at the time they were like, okay, you can get, you get a special deal on a computer, blah, 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 blah. It was a Dell computer because he had worked out contracts with colleges to sell computers to these colleges, like students in the colleges, right? So it's like the college told him it was a bad idea, and then he's going and he's selling special contracts, having contracts with colleges. Like, that to me was hilarious.
Yeah, the irony, right? That is hilarious. I didn't know that part. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I'm a Spartan. That makes sense. Why does that make sense? I'm not really a Spartan. I went to MSU for like a semester and a half. I marched in the band and I had a nervous breakdown and I dropped out. Like,
Well, you went to other colleges though.
yeah. Yep. Then I went to other schools. And I still take courses. It's just, as an adult, you get to pick your education, right? So now I take audio production courses. I buy courses, I pay money. I buy books all the time, so education is very, very important to me. I'm not denouncing education at all, but what I'm saying is, don't stop to the love of learning. And the school system, the whole system of education, in my experience, like, made me hate learning.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like if I'm passionate about something, I can learn so much about it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember in school, it was just like I was drowned in it. So it was
I
like
know.
I don't want anything to do with learning.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, different majors. Hey, if I'd have had a major, if there was a major available that was what I wanted to do, then that'd have been great. Because I know people who go to college and they still love learning, and they still, because there's their career path, what they want to do with their life lines up with what college has to offer them. And so that's awesome.
Oh
And
yeah,
so they come
absolutely.
alive, and it's great,
Mhm.
you know? Like, I need a spear and a leather armor skirt. What? Oh my gosh. I don't know about that. Well, Ellie, thank you so much for the topic. We talked about it
Yeah.
for a while.
Same.
We used like the whole show on this topic,
Yeah.
and it was worth it.
Yeah. Thank
And
you
it
so
was
much.
great because we don't have any other topics we can do unless we do ice, which is basically just
Yeah,
the
that's what I was
word
gonna.
ice. But
That's what I was gonna say. We don't have any other topics, so that's kind of partially why we just went off on this one. But also, yeah, I
no, but
mean,
there was a lot to say
it's
about
good.
it. This
Hmm.
is a big moment for you, Ellie, and I appreciate you letting us, all of us, really, the chat too. You guys in the chat are
That's fine.
so awesome. Like, all the
Yeah,
stuff you guys had to offer. Oh my gosh. You you guys have so much wisdom and experience, and you have such a heart to help, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
impressive. It's so impressive to me. But thank you for letting us share in this journey with you, Ellie, because man, this is big stuff, and this is why we want to do this. We want to help, you know.
By the way, hold on, see, wait, who said that? Kishin Slayer. I don't see one from you, and I don't know why.
No, thank
You said you
you.
submitted,
Sorry. Anyway,
but for some reason, there's
submitted
not one in here.
submitted on the website, or submitted in the chat, or submitted by
Oh yeah.
email.
Well,
Submitted last night. Really,
really,
it's not
the
showing up on
site.
our list. Hmm. You want to email Joe? Joe at bss.studio. Easy.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah, if
DM
you could
too.
DM it to us, that's fine.
Yeah, you could totally do that. In the meantime, I just found this on my desk.
What'd you find?
We're gonna have an interim topic. I found a
Uh-oh.
fortune cookie.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, hey, sometimes those can be fun and insightful
Yes.
or just wrong
Who wants to know
or silly.
this fortune?
All
I
right, let's
do.
see it.
I'm gonna
I
read it.
do.
Put
Put
squeezed
squeeze
cheese.
cheese on it.
I forgot to get squeezed cheese. I went to the store when I was
Eat it,
hungry.
dude. Guys, I think it's just the paper, by the way. You want him to eat the piece of paper with cheese on it? Is that what's going on here?
Ooh. Here's the fortune. I always eat the cookie, but I'm not gonna eat the paper. I did that before. It's not good. Um the person who removes a mountain can start the cleanup too.
A person who removes the mountain
Who
can
removes a
start the
mountain can
cleanup.
start the cleanup. Like if you knock down a mountain, you get to clean it up. mm. Good fortune cookie.
What does that even mean?
It's not a fortune. It's not a
That is not a
fortune. You're so
fortune.
right.
Exactly. That is not a fortune.
It's a clean your room reminder.
I'm gonna go destroy a mountain. Well, good luck with that.
Hey, thank you, Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You have to deal with the consequences of your own actions. I was trying to take it from a fortune perspective, so I couldn't put it together.
Emailed
I
it
was
to
just
the.
like, what?
Okay. Let me open the BSS email.
Honestly, half of them are more like wisdom cookies than fortune cookies. Yeah.
I mean, I never made a fortune from a fortune cookie. Like, there was never any money in there.
Someone did. It's their fortune.
Yeah.
Fortune cookies? I made a fortune off of fortune cookies. Telling them. Yeah,
Come on, Outlook.
it's really like a. It's not really fortune. It's a badly written proverb.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got your topic now. All right. So, let's see. How are we going to do this? Do I just read it? Do I want Ryan, can you talk for a second? And I'll make
Hi.
I'll make the topic.
Yeah.
I ate my fortune
Hi
cookie.
guys. Okay. Yeah.
Got your email,
Yummy.
Kitchen. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kitchen.
I'll get it so I can put it up on the screen here real quick. I'm gonna transition to Ryan. He's gonna keep you entertained. Ryan,
All
entertain
right.
us. Sounds very entertaining.
Oh wait. Sorry. I was assuming they could see me. Well,
Oh,
if you could see me, you would have been entertained to
I
some
will.
degree.
I glanced over. I was very entertained at that moment.
Yeah, we can. Okay, well, not all of you can, because some of you are just listening to it like it's a podcast. So I'm sorry to everybody who, I apologize to the blind community. I regret my decision. I didn't think that through clearly. And I also apologize to the deaf community for this entire podcast. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh wait, why did I say, thank you? Yeah, thank you, I guess. Um, was entertained. Yeah, okay, perfect. Ah, yes, the eyebrows. Yeah. Eyebrows are incredibly entertaining, aren't they? Like, what's up with that? We have,
What's
okay,
up
I
with
get,
that?
like, they might protect our
What's up with that?
eyes from rainwater. They do hold on to it, but if it's really wet, it's not going to help. They only help so much. I think maybe it's for not getting sweat in your eye. So, like, if you sweat profusely off your forehead, it doesn't go into your eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of an interesting thing. Um, I I've only sweat from my forehead probably one time in my entire life. At least I mean like a dripping sweat. Actually, no. I don't think I've ever sweat a dripping sweat from my forehead in my entire life. I have a weird body that doesn't want to ex excrete water out of my skin. Um, don't know why, but it just doesn't happen for me. Not very much. Yeah, there's no saving you from a shower. Yeah, right, for real. Um, The deaf community did not hear my apology. Soleil, why you gotta break my heart? I was trying to reach out to them. Okay, how do I say it in sign language? Oh, wait. I think that's it.
Is that it?
I think that's it. Can someone, if anyone knows sign language, cats, for some reason I assume you know sign language. Cats, is this right? Is that sorry?
I know one bit of sign language. It's not
That's,
appropriate.
well, okay. Well, what do you won't do that then?
Not
Huh?
on this
What?
show. We'll do it on
Cats, were
the
you
we'll do it
even
on the
watching?
swear word show.
Wow. How did you get that impression?
Because
I
you're
don't
so
know,
doggone
cats.
smart. You don't
Yeah.
you know everything about everything?
For me, I just felt like if anybody in this community knows, it's going to be you. If anybody else knows sign language, please advise.
Big brain.
My
Big
brain's
brain.
so huge it hurts. Yeah.
All right. So I got
Yep.
this topic ready to go. We might go a little
Perfect.
over on this show. Is that
Uh-oh.
okay with you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Is that okay with you guys in the chat if we go over a few minutes? Like 20?
Thanks, Cal. Thanks, Cal.
So, yeah. No, over, only under. So we have to stop now.
No, I think they'd be upset if we did under.
Oh.
Or they would be,
You're right.
wait,
I
I
rephrased
don't
it that
know.
way.
I don't know which,
We should
I
go
don't know.
30 hours over. Hey. Idea. 24-hour live stream. We
Well,
could
we
do
one
it.
up that and go 30 hours.
Now that you and I are in opposite time zones like that,
We could.
dude, we could like oh my gosh, my brain. We could like totally gang up on this live stream, like
You're thinking ideas, man. We could have a 24-hour service. We just get people from Australia and people from America to be on it.
right.
And boom.
And just all the
Yeah.
time. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We could do it. We totally could.
DWW.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it would be interesting. It'd be fun. All right, but yeah, let's do this. Let's do this topic. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Yes. So this is from Kitchen Slayer. This is called "How Do You Keep Focus." I'm gonna put it up on the screen here so you guys can read it, and I'm gonna read it while you read it with me. All right, here we go. How do you keep focus? To be clear, I'm not talking about day-to-day effectiveness like studying or working. That's important, of course, but I think that tends to be more about health, discipline, and habit. What I'm struggling with is perspective. During breaks from the semester, I always find I gain a lot of really important perspective from both interactions with others and a lot of introspection. For instance, between finals and the time of writing, I had the opportunity to meet multiple people in my perspective fields that have drastically opened up my ideas for the future. At the same time, my grandmother passed away, and as a result, I've been able to connect with family in a way I really haven't been able to before. It's a sad time, but I can immediately tell that both these new perspectives are incredibly valuable and things I refuse to lose. I value new perspective like a lot of people value currency. Being able to temporarily adopt someone else's perspective and really empathize has helped me so much. But at the same time, when I'm in the trenches of a semester, it becomes so easy to adopt narrow perspectives, especially from the people around me, rather than keeping the big picture in my head. Those narrow perspectives are useful for getting done with stressful deadlines and such, but they are also the worst thing to live a life with. So, to ask again, how do you keep your focus? From Kitchen Slayer. And
Brilliantly said.
yep, absolutely brilliantly said. And it's funny because I'm going to put the current topic summary thing is just says, how do you keep your focus, or how do you keep focus? But we're not talking about work ethic, like you said in your topic there. We're talking about how do you keep focus on the perspectives. And maybe I'll update that when Ryan's talking or something, so it's not quite so misleading. But how do you keep focus on a right perspective, especially when you get back into an environment where everybody around you has a different perspective that's not quite as helpful, that's more narrow, right? This is a great question because this is a struggle. This is something, I'm not perfect at it. My perspective gets skewed from time to time. You know, my perspective man, you go through stuff and you get into a stressful situation, your perspective gets messed up sometimes. You know? Sometimes that
Yeah,
happens when
absolutely.
you're overwhelmed, when you're overworked, when you're around different people. It's also one reason why it's really good if you can kind of choose who you spend a lot of your time with. Who do you spend a lot of
Hmm.
your time with? Are they and it can be hard because sometimes, you know, who you're spending your time with, it might not be all that great for you, but you still love that person and you want to be around them, and so like you come into this like, "Oh my gosh, like do I keep spending time with this person even though it's kind of a toxic situation or whatever, you know?" And so like it's just, hey, I understand. I've been through that. I know a lot of you have also been through that. And so like some of those choices are tough to make, but how do you keep focus on the big picture? That's a really good question. And you can put up little reminders for yourself. One of the best things that I've done is I have two whiteboards in my room, and I one of them is basically a magnetic one where I have like different tasks that I do, and I have different days, and I move the magnets around of what different task I'm doing on what day, you know. And so I'll just like, so I'll have my days kind of filled up that way. And the other one is just either random perspective thoughts or whatever, or maybe something I've read, or maybe something that I've thought up, and I just write it in big bold letters across there, and I'll leave it there for a few days or maybe a week, and it'll be just there to remind me, you know, of a perspective or of something I need to keep in my mind, something I need to remind myself of, so then I can keep my head in the right place, right?
Hmm.
And so those are, I don't know, that having reminders is a really helpful thing for me. Journaling also has been really really helpful for me. Waking up every day and, you know, doing some reading and journaling helps me kind of keep my mind in the right area, right? And a lot of times I also journal at night. So I'll journal, I write a lot. And yeah, like I write in journals a lot. Um, but those things help me to keep my mind on the right, in the right perspective, or I can read it later and I can be like, oh man, I was off track. I need to fix that. Right. And so, like, sometimes rereading my journal entries can help me understand, oh, that might not be very good thinking. Because what's the point? The point is to, like we were talking about, the point is who you are, what your life looks like, what kind of life are you going to have. It's not necessarily your job. It's not necessarily what everybody looks at you as. It's not what everybody thinks of you as. It's like, who are you? And are you living up to that? Right. And so, I don't know. Those are some things that have been really helpful for me. And hopefully, I've bought Ryan a little bit of time because I'm going to turn it over to him like right now. And he's going to take it from me
So,
because, yeah,
so I
do it.
will. I will.
Go. Go. Ready, set,
All
go.
right, I'm doing it right
Ready,
now. Is
set,
it well,
stop it.
okay? Okay, I'm not ready.
Ready, set, pizza.
Okay, okay, now now we're
Marcus
talking.
said bruschetta.
Oh, bruschetta. All right.
Bruschetta.
So
All right, go for it.
quick thing. Kishan, I just want to make sure I understood the topic correctly because I originally thought something and then Joe said a different thing, so I'm a little bit confused. I want to kind of get this straight. Are you saying? So my original thought on this was you were saying that you've taken on so much perspective and you're capable of looking at a really huge perspective now. But because of that, when you're trying to incorporate yourself in a environment where it's like, okay, we just got to get this done, we just have to focus on this one task, you are kind of unable to do so because you are seeing such a big picture that um that you start to think, well, some of these smaller things don't matter anymore. And so you kind of feel like you get lazy, or you know you don't need to do those things, etc. Or are you saying more akin to what Joe was saying, which is basically once you're in that narrow environment where there's a lot of narrow perspective, it's hard to remember the big picture. Um, so which one of those is it? Is it that you have a big picture mind view and it kind of prevents you from engaging with the narrow, or that the narrow prevents you from engaging with the with the with the with the deep. I guess that's a better way to say it. The deep prevents you from engaging with the narrow, or the narrow prevents you engaging with the deep. Which of those is it? So I can better understand.
Well, because I like what you're getting at, Ryan, because there is a useful for focus on something,
Mhm.
on specifics, which could be seen as a narrow perspective. Because sometimes you have to
Mhm.
focus on specific details in order to
Oh
do
yeah,
certain
absolutely.
things, right?
Mhm.
But in the midst of that, how do you keep your mind on the big picture? Because that's generally the reason why you're doing the things that you're doing and having to focus on these narrow perspectives, these narrow details, right?
Mhm.
You're doing them for a reason, and to keep that in your forefront. And forgive me, Kishan. Oh,
Yeah.
Kishan, you said it can be both. It's hard to translation between the two, but I think both are extremely necessary.
Okay. Yeah, it's just hard to transition. Fair enough.
Well, I find that once I
Mostly I
get
find
deep into the semester, I'm too focused and start making the wrong sacrifices. Ah, I
gotcha.
see. All
Mm.
right.
Mhm.
Does that give you
Okay.
something to
Yeah.
run on?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate that. Okay. Um yeah. No, absolutely. I think that what I think what Joe originally recommended is wise. It may seem rather cliche, but I know people that have had great amount of success in literally taking a magic marker and writing on their mirror where they wash their hands and wake up and put on their makeup and all that kind of stuff. So they see it every morning and there's their big picture written on the mirror in front of them. With not permanent marker, right? So keep that in mind. Um, or having something plastered to the back of their door and so whenever they leave in the morning they see it and it's on their mind. Um, Having those things, having those reminders, journaling, etc., having those reminders can be very helpful. Also, decompressing. I would suggest decompressing as a really good way to exit stage. Because if you don't take time to decompress, you will absolutely get sucked in. I mean, obviously. There are times where, even in my day to day, every once in a while, I'm just like, I'm going. Like there's a stressful moment. It happened recently, for example, with this Kickstarter thing that we did, and the transition to what was that? Indiegogo.
Mm.
Um, and at that moment there was like a bunch of things I needed to get done, and then all of a sudden there was all this other pressure, and I just had to communicate with everybody and get everybody on the same page, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, that was quite a moment.
And as soon as, and during that moment, there was a moment in there where I was like, I need to decompress. So I stepped away and I did something else and I came back to it because um, if I didn't decompress, I'd be too sucked in to make correct decisions. And so I think decompression is really important. How do you do that? It might be different for everybody. I think some of it is getting away and thinking for a little bit. Like, why am I even doing this? What's the point? Some of that is important, but I think also something even more basic and simple, feed some of your basic needs. Like go eat something
Mm.
or go play a video game or something for like just 30 minutes or something. Go I don't know, go outside and have a walk. Go to a piece of paper and start journaling. These are all options
Take a
how
nap.
we might decompress. Take a nap. Yeah. Um because when when you start to notice your mentality isn't on par with what you think it should be, there's a chance that there are too many your brain is too wrapped up in the scenario to allow yourself to think. So yeah. He said, I think I'm realizing how important keeping a wide perspective is now, especially because while I have this time off, I'm noticing my practice sessions are 1,000 times more productive. Yeah.
Mm.
As a musician, I have the ability to both focus and relax simultaneously for rhythm and accuracy.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
absolutely.
so real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so completely, yeah, completely, absolutely true. So I would say if you're going through life and you're kind of getting caught up in this feeling of like you had the big picture and now you've lost it. You had energy to put forward into something, to be to be really focused on it. You had this feeling of like I'm living life. I know what it's about. I'm going through this. This is great. And then now it's not there anymore. Well, then you have to reconnect with what it is that sets you into that motion in the first place. It's easy to lose that connection. All right, see you, Zephyrus. It's easy to lose that connection when you're deep in it, when you're deep in the muck. It's kind of like it's kind of like a lot of things. There's a lot of like emotions. It's hard to when you're in when you're the one under all the pressure. It can be hard to see the bigger picture because you're all in it, right? Obviously, of course. If you are the one that's you know, I don't know, I'm struggling to think of good examples, but you get it. You get the point. It's a very common occurrence. It's very normal to experience. So I would say you're in good company. Um, I think it's important to spend time remembering every week why you're doing what you're doing, and see personally as okay. I'm gonna give my own example. Personally, as a Christian, as someone who's a Catholic, I go to church every week, right? I go to mass.
Mm-hmm.
And at the mass we celebrate God, we celebrate each other. We offer up some of our time, right? We make a sacrifice. We do that. We worship God, right? In that moment for an hour for about an hour. Okay. Then we have the rest of our week. Okay. That 1 hour, and I have to give some credit to the sacraments therein, but in that 1 hour, right, I spend that time focusing on God, right? For the rest of my week, I can live out that experience of continuing to focus on God. But I can do that better if I also pray every night.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that even better if I also wake up in the morning and make a little prayer. And I can do that even better if I pray every once in a while throughout the day, right? So the same thing applies. So when I live my life, I'm living it in order, in an orderly fashion, right? Order to the good of my nature, order to the good of God, order to a godly manner, right? So I'm living that out in every day. And the more I encounter God in my life, the more I take time to encounter Him in my life, the more I'm living that life out and the better I'm living it out. The less I have temptation to sin, the less I, get involved with things that I don't need to to waste my time on, right? The more that I'm willing to sacrifice good things for greater things, the more I'm willing to live a life of virtue, the more I'm willing to go down that path, the more that that's on my mind, right? So I would say the same is going to apply for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be religion. For me, that's how I live my life. But for you, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be religion. It could be what what is your passion? What are you going to through all of this for? And then you can come to that question and just go like, how often am I encountering that goal? How often am I encountering that passion, that reason? How often am I communicating with that reason throughout my week? It's like, do I spend an hour on it once a week? Do I then also wake up and go to sleep thinking about it? Now, you don't want something necessarily to own your life, but if it's important to you, if it's a way of life, then sure, yeah, that might be something worth doing, you know? So I would say when you are in the thick of it, when you're in the mud and it's like all you have time for is work and you don't have time to think about the bigger picture, the best thing you can do is just relax in the mud.
I like the mud.
Mhm. Just go, "Okay, you know what? I'm in the thick of it. There's all this mud around me. It's mucky. It's it's high tension. It's super stressful. It's, hey, we got to get this done in this deadline. We got to get this done in this deadline. I'm in it. I'm in the mud." Best thing you can do sometimes when you realize that you can't see the big picture anymore and you don't want to be where you're at, first, take a moment to relax in the mud. Just take a moment, relax, and start to decompress. Secondly, acknowledge that where you are, you're meant to be there. Because this is the point that goes forward. And this is where you are. Don't regret being here. Be thankful that you've made it here. In this point in time, you have opportunity to do a lot of good. So be thankful for where you are. Because if you're not thankful for where you are, you're going to give up a lot of potential. So be thankful for where you are. And then thirdly, communicate with that big picture. Talk about it with yourself, talk about it with God, talk about it, whatever. Communicate with that big picture. And then fourth, get back into it.
Hmm.
Get back into it. Okay? That's my 4-step pattern for you, if that's all right. You're in the thick of it, you're in the mud. Relax in it. Be thankful in it. Communicate with the big picture and then get back into it. All right? That's my best advice.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I mean, just like you said, the perspectives, there's so much value in that. I absolutely agree, Kishan. I think your frame of mind, absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. It's refreshing and lovely to hear that it's like you have a thankfulness for perspective and that you cherish it like it's a valued good because it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I feel about wisdom in general. Like I remember, at some point in my life, I think I was probably 9 or 10. A priest was given a sermon, and I had never really paid much attention to him. But before the sermon, actually, it wasn't the sermon. It was he was reading from the Bible, and he was talking about Solomon and Solomon experience with God. And God said, "Hey, you can have like whatever you want. What do you want?" And he said, "I just want the wisdom to lead my people." And God was like, "That is the best thing you could have ever wished for. Here you go." And he became the wisest man that ever lived and ever will live. So to me, it drove me to go, the most valuable thing is wisdom. Now, is it the most valuable thing? No. But at the time, it filled my mind with a sense of, what is wisdom? I want to seek after that. I want to know what that is, because clearly that's important. And I don't even know why yet. But then I started to look at my life and every moment in it and grabbing hold of whatever wisdom I could pull out of it. And there's so much in everything that we do and everything we encounter. If you sit and you think about it for a moment, you can find wisdom within it, especially the bad stuff that happens. So it gives great reason for taking a moment after a bunch of bad stuff happens to just dig into it and go, hey, there's a lot of wisdom to learn here. Perspective is the same. Perspective, I can see you going down that same venture, that same road with just having a desire and a love and a respect for perspective and just soaking that up like it's value, like it's pure gold. So I want to just say that's awesome. And that's where I'm going to end it. Just try to do those 4 things whenever you're in the thick of it. And you feel yourself getting caught up in it and it's too stressful for you. Relax or decompress however you want to, whatever. Take a moment, relax. Just know that it's okay to be there. Know that it's okay to be in that mud and be like, hey, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm happy with this. I'm thankful that I'm here. These are the reasons I'm thankful. And then talk about the bigger picture with yourself. Communicate with yourself the bigger picture. And then move on. Just get back into the mud. It's okay to do that. And I think we all need to do that. So that's what I got for you. Going back over to Joe.
You don't want to go back over to me. You want to keep talking.
Okay. Wait, I didn't know that. What do you mean, what I want? How do you know what I want,
let me
Joe?
tell you what you want.
Okay. All
I'm
right,
totally
fine.
kidding. Excuse me. Kishin. I don't know. I don't know. I think Ryan summed it up so well. That's great. And from what I said at the beginning, you can take and adopt some of those if you want. Like I said, journaling, trying to keep my head on, and trying to have some reminders of what that big picture is, right? I like what you said. I love your musical references in the chat
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Where you're like, feels like during the middle of the semester, it's really hard to find those reset points. Kind of like a downbeat, except everything is way too syncopated.
Mm.
I understand, but you know what? Sometimes that's beautiful. Sometimes that's Sometimes it brings richness to life or to a song, right? To have things kind of be a little bit off base. And like I love what Ryan was talking about. Sit in the mud and understand, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. This is where I'm at. And this is okay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of relax, decompress, take some time, take a step back, remind yourself of what's important, and then step back in on that offbeat and go and listen. There's a song. Oh, as an ADHD person, I love chaos and love getting invested in it. Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Fair.
But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the lack of downbeat or the syncopated downbeat or the chaos or all that kind of stuff. Embrace it, because actually, here's a really really old song, "Rapunzel" by the Dave Matthews Band. Look it up and listen to it. You only have to listen to the intro, but I mean the whole song is great, right? But Rapunzel by Dave Matthews, by the Dave Matthews Band. And like the intro is in some kind of weird time signature, like 11 something or whatever, it's like really, it's a weird time signature, but it grooves, right? And when the drums come in, like Dave Matthews Band had such a masterful drummer, he brought it all together with his hi-hat, but sometimes it was on the downbeat, sometimes it was on the upbeat, but it was constant, right? And so like what that does, when you said that in the chat, it drew me to that song, and I was like, oh yeah, because sometimes, it's hard and it's a little bit frustrating and it doesn't feel natural, but it's pretty doggone cool, right? And it can be beautiful. And Haley, yes, love embracing the chaos. Hey, it's hard to do. Well, it can be hard to do. Oh, it's in 5/4. It was a weird 5/4. Okay, cool. Thank you. I didn't know. Whatever. Thank you for figuring that out and reminding me. It's been so long since I took music theory, and I was a theory major. You'd think I'd remember this stuff, but
I
anyway.
would not, so I don't remember because I never learned.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, okay. I have one piece of advice for you. Well, okay. I have 2 rules. Here's a 2-step rule. Yeah, percussion. That was that was one of my other majors, was percussion performance. So fun. I will ask, one of the most fun pieces, one of the most fun solos I ever played was written by a bass player. It's called Cold Pressed. If you look up the percussion solo, the multiple percussion solo, Cold Pressed, so fun. I can't remember who did it. I can't remember the composer, but that was such a fun solo to play. It was like I don't know, it was like a 13-piece setup or 15-piece setup or something like that. It was crazy, ridiculous.
That was obnoxious, of course, because it was written by a bass player.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Had everything, like I had all this collection of cowbells and tempo blocks and crotales and a kick drum and a snare drum, and you were standing, right? And then it had, oh, it was so fun. Yeah. Look it up. It took me months and months and months and months and months to train for it, but it was so worth it. It was so fun to perform, and it sounds cool. Yes, Static. You don't know obnoxious until you see percussion ensemble music. Dude, percussion ensemble is weird. Because think about it. In a normal band or orchestra, what's the percussionist do? Rest.
Rest, yeah, rest, rest,
You
rest.
sit
And then,
there.
oh yeah, better hit that
Oh,
cymbal
oh, get my
once.
triangle out. Ding.
Yeah, ding.
Rest.
Mm-hmm.
Except for when I did orchestra and I played timpani. That was a little bit more involved. But yeah. You're so right. When percussionists start writing music for themselves, it gets ridiculous. They're like, let's show off what kind of stuff we can do. 15
That's
pots and
awesome.
pans. Yeah, man.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Now I'm distracted. You're getting me off of the big picture.
That's great.
Step number 1, avoid romance.
Oh goodness. Let's see.
Step number 2, refer to step number 1. There you go.
I know. Go on. That's amazing. That includes romance with your instruments. So, you know,
No.
back off.
No,
Back off. That drum needs its space.
Oh, man. Hey, look at that. You woke up from a dream that we went 30 minutes over. It's coming true. We got 10 more minutes.
Nice.
We should do it. And actually, I'm kind of joking on that. I'm joking, but kind of. Because
There's some truth to it, yeah.
Because okay, if this is a struggle, it's not going to magically get healed in a romantic situation. It's best to kind of, I don't know.
I would
Personally figured
say
out.
get yourself, not that anyone ever has themselves fully put together and figured out, but get yourself put together and figured out before you put yourself in someone else's life and they have to deal with it.
Right.
And then think about that the other way around, because you're gonna have to deal with them.
Yeah, well, you got two people and they're bringing their messed upness into each other's lives with each other, and it's weird. But anyway, hey, you made that mistake a year or so ago and done with it. Hey, you know what? I can relate. It took me a lot longer to figure that out, but hey. But here's the thing, sometimes we just get drawn into different areas, and I know what you're explaining. You get into this situation where you're focusing on the narrower perspectives, and the romance thing is just kind of it's just one example of what can happen. Because sometimes you catch feelings for somebody and then you get all focused there and then you lose focus on all the other stuff that's important and you're just all like, whoa, right? And you kind of get sucked into that, right? So, but that's just one thing that can happen. There's all other areas. Here's another thing, actually. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that mental vacations are always a great thing, especially when they're substance induced.
Fair enough.
I would probably avoid substance-induced mental vacations. So alcohol, drugs, all that kind of stuff, right? That also can be a trap. So,
absolutely.
But being who you are and understanding, I'm not saying everything's all bad. It's not always bad to just unwind once in a while. I'm not saying that, but it can be a trap. So you just kind of got to watch yourself and be careful. Okay? All right, cool. You're straight edge personally. Great. So anyway. Oh, yes, absolutely. I hate the feeling I'm not in control of myself. The only thing I absolutely can control. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know,
And
right? That's the thing for me too.
When you ingest something that causes you to lose control, that's bad, right? That's not going to help you with the perspective situation, right? Yeah. But I know a lot of people.
From you, Joe, yourself.
What's that?
Oh, I remember this line. I always used it in referring to drugs with other people when they're asked, like, do you do drugs? And my answer was always no. And I remember you gave me like one of the best lines ever. And it was basically just like, if I want to be the best version of myself I can ever become, I need to be in full control of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm taking drugs, if I'm doing anything that messes with my brain, then I don't have control over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's actually one of the, I suppose, before I even met you, but that was kind of the reason I got off of Ritalin when I used to take it, because I recognized that it actually was an inhibitor to
Mm.
my. So I have ADHD, but I would rather try to figure out how to do and use that effectively than trying to subdue myself and just not be in control of what I could be. So
Right.
yeah.
Now that's not the same case for everybody. I mean, my
No,
brother
it's not.
has
Obviously, it's not.
ADHD and he takes Ritalin and it is very helpful for him, right?
Right.
And so like you
Yeah.
really, I mean, that's where doctors come into play and you know, they will monitor you and they will ask you questions and they'll figure out, okay, how is this helping? How is this hurting? You know, all this kind of stuff. And then under that guidance, you know, then you can make the right decision on whether or not it's what you need to do. Now there was a
Mhm.
time, and I don't know if this time is still happening, where they would just give lots and lots of kids Ritalin, whether they needed it or not, just because a kid might be kind of like a kid and a little bit rambunctious or whatever, and so they get them,
Oh yeah, sure.
you know, and so like that can be a problem, you know. But you know, like a lot of times, you know, I mean, it's very very highly subjective, right? Medications do exist to help us, they do,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
they're also potential for abuse. And it's funny that you mentioned that I gave you one of the best drug quotes because man, I partied like a rock star for years.
Oh, I think that's why though. I think that's why, because you had learned
I learned from
firsthand and you kind of
experience.
got the fruit of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man. Like yeah, I lived rock star life, man. I was like, hey, you know, hey, can I eat it? Yeah, I'll eat it. We'll see what it does. Okay, cool.
Eat that. See what it does to you, man.
See what it
It's just
does.
mayonnaise.
Man, I saw some
Just
crazy
mayonnaise.
stuff, man, and I found myself like rubbing up against a brick wall, and I thought it was great. And oh yeah, oh so crazy.
The walls were moving, man. The walls were moving.
The walls were.
Okay, I hate to make it. I had to. That was a pill with just mayonnaise inside of it. So I don't know why that happened. I don't know why that happened to you, but
A
that's
pill with
scary.
mayonnaise. Great. Um. So anyway, Kishan. Yeah, I'm glad you're in the spot that you're in, where you appreciate that you have control and you want to keep control of yourself. You don't want to take anything that's going to make you lose judgment, right? You don't want to take anything that's going to help make you lose control. Now, we can be drawn away by other people, other things, other situations. We can have things hit us out of the blue and cause our brains to go like all funky, right? There's all
Hmm.
kinds of stuff that can happen and knock us off course. So how do you keep yourself focused? Ryan talked about that. Ryan's 4-step process. I don't remember all 4 steps, but
That's okay. You don't need
go
to.
back
Just know it's 4 steps.
go back and listen to that, you know. And you don't necessarily, it doesn't always have to be a religious thing, right?
Mm-mm.
Just because Ryan's perspective is from a perspective of a religious person. I know, Kishan, you said in the chat that you're agnostic. That's totally okay, right? Um, I would,
Yeah, we love you.
yeah. And what God is to
Honestly.
us as Catholics, God is basically just the origin of everything. You know, it's taking the law of cause and effect and taking it back to the point where you can't have a cause for it anymore. Because eventually you get to that point. You're just like, okay, well, this caused this. The reason this is here is because of this. The reason this is here is because of this. The reason this is here is because of this. The reason this is here is because of this. And then eventually you just go back and back and back through history, through all of natural history, through, you know, the cosmos and the universe and all this kind of stuff. And then you end up to a point where it's like, I can't explain the cause of this. That's God. Right? Like that's, so God isn't a spaghetti
Yeah.
monster in the sky.
Or the bearded man in the clouds.
Or the bearded man in the clouds.
Well, I mean, we could talk for this on hours, and I don't think that's necessary. Of course, you know, but maybe we'll do a stream someday where we talk about theology and why we believe what we believe. But
Yeah.
obviously, There's
I
there's a
just
lot to it, but
Right. I just wanted to explain that 'cause since
we're
you're
not here to.
agnostic. But I see you just said in the chat here, you believe in the raw power of religion and faith. Absolutely. Faith is tremendously powerful. And that's a gift that we have as humans, right? Our faith, our conviction, all these kinds of things, the ability to
That was well
control
said,
our
Christian.
mind. Here's another thing. I don't know, I know you don't have a whole lot of time, but man, I'll tell you what, there's a book, and you sound like a pretty smart person. There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. You want to learn about some of the crazy ways our brain works and the power that we have. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It is on Audible. And it goes through the power of our thinking. Now, this guy, he wrote a book about psychology, about how our minds work, but he was a plastic surgeon.
Mm.
And the reason he dug in and studied all this kind of stuff is because he saw a whole bunch of patients that, they came in with a physical, what they felt was a deformity. They wanted the deformity fixed, and they felt like they would feel better about themselves once they fixed the deformity. But then he noticed that a lot of them, they still lived the same way afterward, after they had this surgery that would fix what they thought was the
And a
problem.
lot of them come back and say, "Oh, this wasn't right. This isn't."
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
No matter how you fix their nose, they always hated it.
exactly. So that caused him to research even further into how the mind plays into all this kind of stuff. And this battle that you're facing right here, it's in your mind. And I can tell you that the more I learn about how the mind works, I'm reading a book, I'm just about finished with it, called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. And that book has helped me understand so much. I've had major breakthroughs in like how my thinking affects my work, how unconsciously there are triggers involved in my life that have undermined and caused me to self-sabotage things. And it's crazy. Once I start learning some of these little triggers, and the problem is they sit right in the middle of my work day, in my task load. There are triggers all around in those. And so I got stuff to figure out. I've got to go through and do some kind of meditation so I can relive some of those experiences that caused the triggers, so I can reconcile those, right? And it gets really interesting when you start figuring out how the subconscious versus the conscious mind, there's so much information that's available. But man, I would definitely read Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. That's one thing. And then as far as when you're armed with that knowledge, then it might be helpful. That knowledge might be helpful for you to develop a strategy that fits you specifically. Because once you start to understand a little bit more about your personality, about how you operate, you have ADHD, right? So that's another thing to consider. That's a factor to, keep in mind, all these little things, right? And you can tailor make something for yourself. And I would include Ryan's 4 steps to some degree. There might be other steps in there, or they might be a little bit of a modification that you make to personalize
Absolutely.
it. Right?
Feel free to.
But those elements are there, and they're important. And it's important to take a step back and then understand where you are and be at peace with where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge.
Huge. When you can help yourself be at peace in that turmoil, because generally speaking, I'll tell you, that is the biggest problem we face, is when we're fighting it. because we're fighting ourselves.
We're fighting reality.
We're fighting. Yeah, exactly.
And you can't just go, you can't just decide. What reality is. You have to confront it and deal with the reality in the real time.
Hal Elrod wrote The Miracle Morning. And he said in that book, he talked about one of the things that's really important that he had to do was he gave himself 5 minutes. When stuff was stressing him out, when everything was going wrong or whatever, something happened out of the blue, whatever, things were going wrong. And like his brain was messed up and he was mad and he was upset and whatever's going on. And he's like, and he's feeling stuck. He'd give himself 5 minutes to yell and scream and swear and whatever, punch the wall and kick the garbage can and all this kind of stuff. He gave himself 5 minutes to let off that steam. He set a timer. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, when the timer went off, he stopped and he said to himself, I can't change it. Now, that doesn't mean he can't change future outcomes. But what he's saying he can't change is he can't change that happened and that here he is now. I can't change that. I can't change that I got to this point. So now what do I do? Now what do I do from here? How do I improve the situation for myself? Because once you come to grips with the fact that, hey, I can't change the fact that I'm here now. I can't. So there's no point in fighting it. There's no point in, going over like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done this. Like the worst advice I ever got financially was like, I was asking somebody, hey, I got myself into debt. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That was their advice to me. And I'm like, well, thank you, I guess. But yeah, I realize I shouldn't have done that, but I did it. Now I'm here. How do I get out? Oh, well, I don't know. We never got ourselves into that position. Like, you just never should have done that in the first place. And I'm like, well, you're not helpful. So you go away. So anyway. Yeah, so but then once like going right along with what Ryan was saying, once you're at peace in that moment and you realize, okay, here I am. I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly where I should be based on what brought me here. Now, where do I go? And when you're free from the battle in your mind because you've stopped fighting yourself and you've stopped fighting reality, you can relax and you can bring your consciousness to bear on what the big picture is. You can have a lot more clear of a picture of what that is and start to backwards plan. How do I get there? Okay, well, that's the ultimate goal right up there. That's the ultimate vision right there. What comes right before that? And then what comes right before that? And then what comes right before that? And you can start to kind of backward plan. Like, what's the journey kind of going to look like? Now, just because you plan out your journey doesn't mean the journey is going to actually look like that. Because a lot of times it looks a lot different. But
if you get a plan together, it at least sets you in motion and down a path that goes somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
That's helpful.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that, man, I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful. That's all I got. Ryan, did you have anything else?
Yeah, that was perfect. I just want to do one quick disclosure. I guess that's not the right word. Anyways, earlier I had said Joe touched on this perfectly. I'm just going to reiterate what he said basically, but earlier I had said, when you take a moment and relax in the mud and say to yourself, okay, I'm meant to be here. It doesn't have to be a religious statement. I think a lot of times we take it as that. It's like, oh, it's designed by God to be here. Okay, sure, so perhaps. But more so, you're meant to be there because that's the reality. You aren't supposed to sit there and go, I was meant to do this, or I was supposed to be over here. Our life was meant to be, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. Here's where you are. And if you can just come to if you can come to reality and be at peace with it and just be like, no, where I'm at is where I'm at. And this is not a bad thing. I think it does a huge, significant amount of good you know. And Joe was just really explaining that. I just wanted to take a quick back step and just put that there because I want to. It's important to recognize just because I say like you're meant to be there doesn't mean that God wanted that for you. For example, just that you are where you are, and the most important thing you can do is recognize where you are and be okay with that because that's the beginning of being able to have control. Because if you're not okay with reality, like Joe was saying, if you're contesting reality and you're just like, oh, I want reality to be different, you can do that all you want, but you're not going to do anything. You're not going to move forward. You're just going to be stuck there being in a crazy amount of stress and you're just going to hate it. But if you can be like, hey, I've got power in this moment. Because I'm here, I have the ability to do something here. And that's where you want to be. So, yeah, absolutely. Being at peace is huge. You know, people say that they search, you know, it's like the pursuit of happiness. It's like we do everything because we think it's going to make us happy. That's why we do everything that we do. And I think that's generally true. But there are things that are probably better than happiness, like, for example, peace. Um, in fact, a lot of us search our whole lives for peace and never find it because we don't know where it's at. We can find bits of happiness. We can find happiness and joy and pleasure. But peace is something that it's there. It's always there. But a lot of people only have it for a split second at a time in their life. And it's just like their most cherished thing. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And it's a lot to do with perspective. So I'm glad that, Kishan, you're so open to perspective and being willing to reshape your perspective based on moments and experiences. I think that's such a powerful and important thing. So I applaud you. I think you're awesome. Keep it up. And yeah, you're going to do awesome. No worries.
Yeah, you're going to be good. You're going to be good.
Yeah.
Although, I caution you, you did say in the chat, honestly, I think I'm becoming Joe. My life is slowly turning into a series of step-by-step lists and flowcharts. Now, you're in for an interesting ride. If you're becoming me...
Yeah, if you're going to become Joe, then who's Joe going to become? Oh, no. All right, well, next Don't Worry Wednesday, we're going to have Kishan on. No.
Hey!
I'm kidding.
But no, honestly, you know, you said you're from a medical family, so you see everything as... see pretty much everything mental as cause effect from real world problems, evidence-based interventions. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the steps and lists and checklists and flowcharts and all that kind of stuff, it's very linear. Percussion, you're a music major, you know, you're doing music and percussion and like that's also very linear. So it's all like, it all step by step, you know, it all fits, right? So that's how I look at things too. And it probably has a lot to do with, you know, I was a very scientific based family that I grew up into. My mom was a human anatomy teacher. My dad was a chemist, you know, lab chemist, you know, so it was like very, very scientific. Scientific method was huge. And then, you know, getting into school, I did good in the sciences and all that kind of stuff, and then got into music, and that was very linear and very step by step, and I'm very into charts and graphs and checklists and stuff. I'm into that kind of stuff. I love it. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for hanging with us. Holy cow!
Yeah, thanks everybody. You guys are awesome. You almost went. You went 2.5 hours. Sorry, 2:45 with us.
Ah, yes. In front of me, I have a scrap of paper with the 4 steps, and under them, absolutely no romance.
No romance. That's hilarious. That's so great.
You don't need to muddy up your life with that garbage, man. Blah blah blah. You know, I had a guy that said, coworker that used to say, "If men were meant to be married, he'd have been born that way."
I know. So silly. By definition, that, sir. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm just gonna let you have that. I'm gonna walk away.
Well, back in the day, with all the, you know, when marriage was all
yeah.
like
Oh my gosh, that's
preordained
true.
by
We
parents and
hated
all that kind of
that.
stuff, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, man were meant to be married, it would be like back then when you had your arrangements made by people,
Yeah,
like,
oh my gosh, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yep. Now we fall in
Wow.
love and we do all the in love stuff and when yeah, Adam was pretty much born married. Who else? He didn't have a choice. Who else?
Almost, yeah. Eve, yeah.
That was his
Well,
the only option.
romance is the best genre. Yeah.
Of what?
I don't know. That's what quite so. I like
The best genre of what?
romance and
Movies?
anime.
I beg to differ.
You
Of
can have your
things,
opinions,
I
guys.
would say that's the best genre of things to rail against in life.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh, Joe, I thought you were over this.
Old habits, man.
I know. I know. I'm being silly. Of course I know
Just
that you're
because
bad
I
at it.
said,
Yeah.
like I'm healing doesn't mean I'm over
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's true. And just because you are hitting on it doesn't mean you actually are that upset over it
I know.
anymore.
I'm laughing. Like I'm smiling and laughing
Yeah.
while I say these
Yeah.
things, guys. Like there was a
Yeah.
time when I'd have been like looking at you like angry and I'd have been like, no.
Yeah, that's true.
At least now I'm
man.
laughing and smiling while I talk about it, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? You want to do your romantic thing? Go for it. I don't care.
Mhm. Yeah, wait. You guys hit on things all the time. You guys are a
Huh?
percussionist.
Now, what
You gotta hit
you
things.
can, hey, hit on the drums all you want, hit on punching bags all you want, hit on the walls or the trash cans. Just don't hit on any women.
That's true. Yeah, don't hit women. I 100% support
Don't
that.
hit on them.
What?
Don't
What does
hit
that
on
even
them.
mean? Well, yeah, don't hit on their skin. Don't hit on their fleshy parts. Don't hit on them. That's not good. It's gonna hurt them. That's mean.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, don't hit other people with your fists.
That's right. Yeah.
And don't hit on them either, because, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, don't hit on them. Don't flirt with them.
He's too pure. I don't even know what hit on means.
Yeah, he does. He's just playing the devil's advocate. Ryan's a lot smarter than
yeah.
he's making himself out to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Thank you guys. I love you. Yeah. Well, I think it's about that time.
it
We
is
should
about that time.
probably
Joe's railing against
let them
romance. We need to
finish.
shut this show down. But I'm the guy that has my finger on the button, so I can keep this going as long as I want. Ryan will just leave the Discord call. Like,
I probably wouldn't. I'd probably stay here until you were actually done, and then I'd be like, finally. Can't believe you made me do that. No, I probably wouldn't even say that. I'd just be like, wow, that took a lot longer than I expected.
oh my gosh, Joe, man. We got a lot of work to do, buddy. Yeah. Well.
You're so lovely. Oh, what now? Oh, shoot, I hit on someone. It's okay. She's my wife. I'm allowed to
Yeah,
do
right? Like,
that.
yeah.
Waiting forever like last week.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, hey, you guys, thank you for being here. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and Kishan, I don't know what happened with yours. I'd really like to dig in and figure out what's wrong with our website. We might have to do some beta testing and figure that out. But I really appreciate you sending it to our email, dww@bss.studio. That's the email. Also, you can reach us on Discord. And most of you here in the chat, you know who we are on Discord. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably on you messing it up. Hey, it's happened. I've messed things up before. I'm like a professional. And if you're becoming more and more like me, just prepared. You're gonna be messing things up. You're gonna be messing it up even more.
Joe, you're awesome.
It's
I don't think you messed up
great.
that much.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Man, you do too. No.
You make things awesome. You make things awesome. And
well,
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You make things
I'm happy to have
awesome.
you in my life.
I'm glad I have you in my life too.
Yeah. Love you, man.
I love you too.
I love you all.
We're gonna end on the lovey note. Now this is non-romantic love.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. We'll see you guys next week. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful life. Thank you, Riku. You are so awesome. All of you guys in the chat, man, it was great to see you all. Katz, Haley, Kishin, Kawai, all you guys, and so many others that I haven't named also, and I apologize. I shouldn't have started naming names.
I know, because now you have to go through the
Oh,
entire
now I gotta scroll up and be like, oh, you were there. Like, yeah, I don't even know
and
who
all
the
you lurkers
are.
out there, and everyone who watches the show afterwards.
All of you guys.
I love you guys.
Yep. So we'll see you next week on Don't Worry Wednesday. Until then, enjoy yourselves, enjoy your life, and yeah, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, you guys. We love you.
Bye-bye. Peace.